What do you do when the legacy left by your father becomes the battleground of your marriage? Aspen's inheritance is not just a mansion, it's the physical embodiment of her father's love, sacrifice, and hard work. The grand house, once a sanctuary filled with childhood memories, now weighs heavily on her shoulders as both a gift and a burden. But when her husband Axel starts making claims on the mansion, everything changes. Axel's growing desire to claim the mansion as ours is slowly turning into a battle that threatens to tear them apart. Stay tuned to see how Aspen fights for what's rightfully hers, and don't forget to subscribe for more gripping stories. Hello, everyone. My name is Aspen, and I'm a 40-year-old financial specialist at an online bank. Today, as I stand at the grand entrance of my inherited mansion, the weight of my father's legacy presses down on me, both comforting and overwhelming. The walls aren't just walls. They hold the echoes of his dreams, his struggles, and his unwavering commitment to building a future. This house, worth an astonishing $150 million, isn't just property, it's a living testament to his life's work. And now, it's mine to protect. Axel, my husband, beams with pride as he welcomes me into what was once my childhood playground. His excitement is palpable as he takes in the grandeur of the room, but I can't help but notice the subtle shift in his gaze. Beneath the enthusiasm, there's a calculating look, like he's seeing everything for the first time not as the home it once was, but as something he feels entitled to. The mansion, crafted meticulously by my father with his hard-earned wealth, was always meant to be more than just a place to live. It was his gift to me, his only child, a sanctuary filled with memories, laughter, and the remnants of a childhood I cherished. But now, with my father's passing, the house and everything it represents has become my sole responsibility. Axel's gestures of joy are growing harder to ignore as time passes. His words, while seemingly innocent, are starting to take on an unsettling tone. He often brings up the mansion, suggesting that it's no longer just mine, but ours. Despite my attempts to explain the sentimental and legal reasons why this inheritance belongs to me alone, he persists. His confidence never wavers, and his smirk never fades, always with a legal pad just a little too close at hand. This mansion, with its towering columns and sprawling gardens, is more than just a structure to me. It's a living symbol of everything my father believed in. Hard work, sacrifice, and the trust he placed in me. But now, as I stand alone in the midst of my grief, the challenge of holding on to that legacy while facing Axel's growing assertiveness looms larger every day. I am determined to honor my father's memory, even as Axel's presence threatens to undermine it. As the days stretch into weeks, the warmth of the mansion begins to shift under the growing tension. Axel's curiosity about my inheritance subtly morphs into a calculated claim. He begins to insist, more forcefully each time, that the mansion, my legacy, should be ours now. "It's our home, too," he says, his voice steady and his eyes locking with mine, not seeking my agreement, but demanding my submission. His logic, practical from a marital standpoint, feels like a betrayal of the promise I made to my father. This mansion isn't just property. It's a physical manifestation of my father's trust, his love, and his hopes for me. Despite explaining this to Axel time and time again, he remains undeterred. His arguments are wrapped in legal jargon and a vision of a shared future, but to me, it feels like an invasion, a violation of a deeply personal and sacred legacy. The conversations have become a loop. Axel, unrelenting, brings up lawyers and estate planning, talking about our future as if the past no longer matters. His approach is logical, cold even, lacking the emotional depth that ties me to this house, to my father's spirit. I point to the will again and again, my name written clearly as the sole beneficiary, but his persistence casts a shadow over what used to be my peaceful sanctuary. One night, as we sit across from each other in the vast, empty living room, the air thick with unspoken words, Axel places a stack of documents on the coffee table. "We need to think about the future, Aspen. It's not just about us anymore," he insists, his words dripping with a mix of manipulation and feigned concern. The implication is clear. He's already decided what's best for us, what's best for him. I remain silent, the weight of my father's portrait watching over us. His gaze seems to plead with me, urging me to preserve his intentions. In this moment, I realize that the mansion is more than just a house. It's my last connection to my father, and I won't let it be torn away by empty promises or manipulation. As Axel continues to outline his plans, the mansion feels less like home and more like a battleground for my heritage. In these moments, I cling to the memories of my father, letting them guide my resolve to stand firm. This house is more than walls and luxury. It's a legacy meant for me to uphold, not to be divided. As autumn deepens, so does the rift between Axel and me. One chilly evening, the crackling of the fireplace is overshadowed by Axel's unexpected announcement. He hands me a stack of papers with a stark declaration: "I've taken the step to secure our future." The documents tremble in my hands as I scan them. Axel, with the help of a legal advisor, has transferred the mansion's ownership into his name. The betrayal slices through the last thread of trust one held for him. He explains, his voice steady, "It's about being practical, Aspen. It's for us." But this mansion was never meant to be for us. It was my sanctuary, my inheritance. The shock of his unilateral decision, made in the guise of securing our collective future, leaves me speechless. Axel's face is a mask of resolve, but beneath it, I see a flicker of something else. Perhaps uncertainty, perhaps guilt. I retreat to my father's study, a place filled with the essence of his wisdom. Here, surrounded by his books and memories, I find the clarity I need. I pull out the original will from the safe, the document clearly naming me as the sole heir. My resolve hardens. This battle for my inheritance is not just about the property, but about respecting my father's wishes and protecting my own rights. The next morning, I confront Philip armed with the original documents and an unwavering voice. "This is not what we agreed on, and it's certainly not what my father intended," I say, though will firm in my grasp. Axel's confidence wavers, his plan unraveling as the reality of legal and ethical ICAL boundary sets in. As the realization dawns on him that his actions have fractured beyond just legalities, the temperature in the room seems to drop. What started as a partnership is now marred by a grave misstep, one that threatens to upend everything we have built together. The morning light filtered softly through the windows of the mansion as I prepared for the confrontation that would define the future of my inheritance. Armed with the true ownership documents, I faced Axel in the calm yet cold expanse of our dining room, where the evidence of his betrayal lay scattered across the table. "Philip, this has to stop," I began, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. I laid the authentic legal documents before him, the proof of my father's will, clear with my name as the sole heir. Axel's face drained of color as he grasped the gravity of his mistake. The forged documents he had believed were legitimate now crumbled in the face of the irrefutable truth. This house was my father's legacy to me, not to us, I continued, each word steeped in the pain of betrayal and the strength of my resolve. Axel's earlier confidence dissolved as he stammered, trying to explain himself. "I thought it would secure our future to have everything clear, legally," he muttered, but his words fell flat, the hollow sound of his justification echoing in the silent room. The conversation turned heated. Axel, realizing the full extent of his actions, began to scramble, trying desperately to salvage his position. But the reality of his deceit hit hard, cutting deeper than any legal document, exposing the fractures in our relationship, fractures that may never heal. I stood firm, guided by the legacy of integrity and respect my father had instilled in me. "I cannot overlook this, Philip. You tried to take away my heritage, my right, without my consent." The realization that our marriage had been tainted by greed and misunderstanding settled heavily between us. Axel looked away, unable to meet my gaze. The bravado that once fueled his confidence had been replaced by remorse. This was no longer just a legal battle, it was a profound personal betrayal. As the finality of the situation set in, Philip murmured an apology weak and wholly inadequate in the face of what he had done. The damage was done, and the path to reconciliation seemed insurmountable. Determined to honor my father's wishes and protect my inheritance, I made the painful decision to move forward alone. The stage was now set for both a legal and emotional separation, one that would redefine the future of the mansion and my life. In the quiet aftermath of our confrontation, the decision to divorce Philip became the necessary step to reclaim my life and legacy. As winter approached, I began transforming the mansion into a vibrant rental villa, a tribute to my father's vision of sharing joy and hospitality. The renovation process became a catharsis. Each room I redesigned, every piece of art I chose, echoed a part of my past and a hope for my future. The mansion, once a battleground of betrayal, slowly turned into a place full of life and laughter. I worked closely with my mother, whose support helped me navigate this new chapter. Our first guests arrived in the early spring, their delight at the beauty of the villa affirming my decision. The sounds of children playing in the garden, couples strolling through the halls, filled the space with new memories, pushing the shadows of the past further away. Through hard work and dedication, the villa became known not only for its architectural beauty, but for the warmth and welcoming spirit we fostered. Every event, from intimate weddings to joyful family reunions, added to the fabric of our new life, weaving resilience and renewal into the very walls of the mansion. This transformation is more than just about business. It's a healing process, a way for me to honor my father's memory in a way that stays true to his values and vision. The villa, once a symbol of pain and loss, now stands as a testament to rebirth and new beginnings. It's a symbol of overcoming adversity, finding strength in the face of betrayal, and turning personal turmoil into something beautiful. As I stand on the mansion's balcony, watching the sunset over a gathering of guests, a deep sense of peace settles in me. I have turned this place into a source of joy and community, ensuring that both the legacy of the mansion and my father's dreams will continue to thrive. As the villa grows, so too does my connection with the community and my own sense of fulfillment. Working alongside my mother, our bond strengthens, and together we manage the villa in harmony, a harmony that seems to echo throughout its halls. The spring blooms, vibrant and full of promise, and our garden becomes a sanctuary. It's not just for our guests, it's for me too. In the soil, in the act of planting and nurturing new life, I find solace, mirroring my own personal growth. The villa's success draws people from all walks of life into our fold, each visitor adding their own story to the mansion's rich history. Our efforts bring more than just financial stability. They bring joy. Their laughter, their appreciation, fill the rooms, and soon the villa becomes a sought-after destination for events. From lively birthday parties to elegant garden weddings, each gathering strengthens the mansion's legacy as a place of celebration and joy. This chapter of my life, marked by recovery and new beginnings, is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The villa, once a place of personal strife and family legacy, now stands as a beacon of hospitality and healing, a space where new memories are made and old ones cherished. Walking through the villa, witnessing the happiness it brings, I am reminded of the transformative power of embracing change and finding purpose, even in the face of adversity. With the first anniversary of my father's memorial approaching, the villa hums softly with the murmur of guests, the gentle clink of glasses. The day meant for reflection and remembrance is interrupted by an unexpected visitor. Philip's appearance is jarring against the tranquil setting, his features worn by the weight of a difficult year. He steps forward hesitantly, his eyes searching for understanding as he begins to apologize. Amid the quiet buzz of the gathering, his voice cracks with emotion. His presence shifts the focus of the day, and I can feel the discomfort settle in the air. Whispers stir, mixing pity with unease, and my relatives can't hide their discomfort. I find the strength to confront the situation with calm. "Philip, this isn't the time or place," I say quietly, guiding him away from the guests. My request is firm yet gentle, aimed at preserving the sanctity of the memorial. As security escorts him out, a mix of relief and sorrow washes over me. This encounter, though painful, reaffirms my decision to move forward, untethered from the past. In the aftermath, I decide it's time to truly let go. I need to seek new horizons beyond the villa that has seen so much transformation. The decision to relocate and start fresh isn't easy, but it feels necessary. The villa, now a thriving hub of joy and community, will continue under the management of a trusted team. This allows me the freedom to embark on a personal journey, one that honors both my father's legacy and my own aspirations. As I prepare to leave, I take one last look at the villa. Its gardens, lush and vibrant under the setting sun, stand as a testament to my journey of healing and growth, a reminder of what can be accomplished when guided by integrity and resilience. My steps forward are filled with hope, the promise of a new chapter bright on the horizon. What do you do when the legacy of your father, the very thing that represents all his dreams and sacrifices, is threatened by someone you trusted? What happens when the person closest to you tries to take it all, ignoring the sentimental value and turning it into a battleground for their own gain? Aspen thought her marriage to Axel was built on trust, love, and shared dreams. But Axel's betrayal was a cruel reminder that not everything is as it seems. The mansion, a living symbol of her father's work, was meant to be Aspen's sanctuary, a place to honor his memory, not something to be claimed by someone else. Axel's manipulation, his quiet insistence that it was our house, grew too loud to ignore. And when he made the decision to unilaterally transfer the ownership into his name, Aspen had to face a painful reality. Her husband wasn't the partner she thought he was. But Aspen wasn't going to let this betrayal define her. She stood firm, backed by her father's legacy and the original will, and confronted Axel with the irrefutable truth. She wasn't just fighting for property, she was fighting for the respect and love her father had poured into this home. And when Axel's plan crumbled, so did the illusion of their marriage. Aspen realized she didn't need to protect the legacy with him by her side. She could do it alone. So here's the real question. If someone you loved tried to take something so precious from you, would you stand up for it? Would you fight for what's yours, even if it meant losing them? Let's discuss it in the comments. And if this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.
My hands trembled as I held the envelope, my name scrawled across it in jagged handwriting. I didn't recognize the writing, but the words inside cut deep. Your husband is not who you think he is. Ask him about Elise. Elise. My mind raced, my heart pounding. Derek wouldn't, he couldn't. I grabbed my phone, fingers fumbling. Jenna, it's me. We need to talk now. I paced the living room, bile rising in my throat as I waited for her to arrive. This had to be a sick prank, a cruel joke. Derek and I had our troubles, but he'd never betray me like this. Would he? Jenna burst through the front door, face etched with concern. What's going on? What's happened? Wordlessly, I handed her the note. She scanned it quickly, eyes widening. Who sent this? I don't know. It just arrived today. Jenna guided me to the couch. Breathe, hon. We'll figure this out. Anger flared suddenly. Figure what out? That my husband's screwing around behind my back with someone named Elise? Jenna squeezed my hand. You don't know anything yet. This could just be a fake letter, trying to cause trouble. I sighed, my rage dissolving. You're right. I can't believe he'd do this to me. Not after everything. Not after the infidelity years ago. The counseling, his remorse, the promise we'd never go through that again. Jenna pursed her lips. I'll ask Alex to look into it, discreetly. If anything turns up, I swallowed hard. Did I even want to know? The next few weeks crawled by in agonizing slow motion. I scrutinized Derek's every move, looking for cracks in his routine. He seemed the same as always, if a bit distracted. More anonymous letters arrived, hinting at secrets. Elise's name echoed in my mind. Alex uncovered the first clues. Records of lavish gifts, a paper trail linking Derek and someone named E. Montgomery, but no concrete evidence of an affair, until the phone records. Late-night calls and texts to a number I didn't recognize, thousands of them over the past 6 months. No way it was for business. Rage simmered in my veins. How could he do this to us? After everything we'd survived? I confronted Derek one night after work, casting aside pretense. Who is she, Derek? He froze. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. Who's Elise? Are you sleeping with her? Panic flitted across his face. No, of course not. There's no one else, I swear. I slammed the phone records down. Then explain this. Explain the gifts you sent her, the trips you took together. Explain the constant calls and texts behind my back. Derek paled. Marlene, please. My hands clenched. How long, Derek? How long have you been lying to me, betraying our vows, making a fool of me? Tears filled his eyes. I never meant. I love you, Marlene. Please let me fix this. I turned away, disgusted. Save it. I'm done with your lies. I had my proof now. My husband's betrayal laid bare. This was only the beginning. I would make him pay for every sleepless night, every moment he made me doubt myself, for breaking vows and my heart all over again. Derek would regret the day he ever heard the name Elise. How could he do this to me again? I fumed, pacing Jenna's living room. Jenna perched on the couch, lips pressed in a thin line. Derek's always been selfish. I warned you when you took him back the first time. I whirled to face her. I thought he'd changed. I thought our marriage meant something to him. Clearly it didn't. Alex's voice was grim. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Jenna shot him a look before turning back to me. What matters now is how you want to handle this. Derek betrayed your trust in the worst possible way. If you want to walk away... Oh, I'm not walking away, I cut in. I'm going to make him pay. Alex raised an eyebrow. What did you have in mind? I took a deep breath. I want to hit him where it hurts. I know things about Derek, secrets he's tried very hard to hide. Like the debt he'd racked up trying to climb the corporate ladder. All those business trips that were just excuses to gamble. I think it's time his pretty little mistress learned the truth about the man she's been spin-screwing. My voice dripped contempt. Once I expose who Derek really is, his affair with Elise will implode. Then I'll take him for everything he's worth. Jenna nodded slowly. All right, if you're sure this is what you want. I've never been more sure of anything. We ironed out a plan over the next few weeks, gathered every shred of evidence about the affair and Derek's lies. Elise thought she was sleeping with an ambitious executive. I couldn't wait to shatter that illusion. I bided my time, pretending I knew nothing, acted the dutiful wife while Derek carried on behind my back. Finally, the perfect opportunity arose, a family dinner at Derek's parents' country club. His parents had always thought I was beneath their precious son. Time to show them how wrong they were. I wore Derek's favorite black dress, wanting to look every inch the calm, confident wife. His parents greeted me with thin smiles and tight hugs. We sat down to dinner, the air simmering with tension. I made idle small talk, waiting for the right moment. Finally, when a lull hit midway through the main course, I struck. Derek, don't you have some news for your parents? I kept my tone light and sweet. Derek's fork froze halfway to his mouth. What are you talking about? I tilted my head. Oh, I just thought you might want to tell them about the new baby on the way. They're going to be grandparents after all. His mother gasped. A baby? But why wouldn't you tell us? I turned to her with mocking sympathy. I'm sure Derek was just waiting for the right time, though it is a bit tricky since the mother is his mistress Elise. Chaos erupted. Derek sputtered denials while his parents shouted recriminations. I sat back and watched it unfold with grim satisfaction. Finally, I slammed my hands on the table, silencing the room. I nudged Derek with contempt. Go on then. Tell them. Tell them what a lying, cheating failure you are. Derek shrank under my glare. When he stayed silent, I continued, relishing every word. You want to know who your son really is? A liar, a fraud, up to his eyeballs in gambling debt. He used company money to finance trysts with his little whore. I slapped the proof down in front of his ashen parents. So much for your perfect son, but I'm done covering for him. We're over, Derek. I quit. Let his house of cards collapse. I would be there to watch it crumble with a smile on my face. The fallout from the family dinner was swift and severe. Derek bombarded my phone with texts and voicemails, begging for another chance. His parents cut off contact completely, no doubt mortified by their son's disgrace. I ignored it all, refusing to let them guilt me into silence. They made their choices. Now they would face the consequences. The anonymous letters kept coming, hinting at secrets only Derek's mistress could know. I added them to the mounting pile of evidence. Soon, I would have enough to bury them both. I dove back into work, determined not to let Derek's betrayal affect my performance. The office rumor mill churned with speculation about my failing marriage and Derek's tawdry affair. I held my head high through it all. Let them talk. I had nothing to hide. Weeks later, Jenna called with an urgent discovery. That mistress of Derek's? Her name's not Elise, it's Lisa. Lisa Montgomery. My breath caught. Montgomery? As in Silas Montgomery? Silas headed Montgomery Holdings, one of our biggest rivals. If Derek was sleeping with his daughter... This goes deeper than we thought, Jenna said grimly. Derek wasn't just cheating on you. He was using your marriage to get close to Montgomery Holdings through Lisa. Red-hot rage flooded me. My hands curled into fists. Bad enough Derek betrayed our vows again. He'd also jeopardized my career and reputation for his own gain. That bastard, I seethed. He doesn't just want to destroy our marriage, he wants to destroy me. We're not going to let that happen. Jenna's voice hardened. I've been digging into Montgomery Holdings. They're not as clean as they pretend to be. My pulse quickened. What do you mean? Let's just say they have their fair share of skeletons. If this affair goes public, it could take down both Derek and Montgomery. I remembered Silas Montgomery's smug smile at the last trade conference, so assured of his dominance over my family's company. The thought of watching his empire crumble along with Derek's made my blood sing. Do it, I told Jenna. Full nuclear exposure. I want everyone to see their lies. I felt a perverse thrill making the plans, like pieces slotting into place. All those years bowing and scraping to get ahead, and for what? Men like Derek and Silas who used and abused anyone foolish enough to trust them. No more. I was done playing nice. The anonymous notes kept arriving, each more ominous than the last. Threats about what would happen if I didn't back down. Lisa clearly realized I wasn't going away quietly. I added the letters to the stack of evidence. Let Derek and his mistress threaten all they wanted. They couldn't intimidate me into silence. Not anymore. For the first time in years, I felt fully empowered. I walked taller, spoke up louder. Derek's betrayal had lit a fire in me, forged me into someone new, someone who wouldn't be pushed around or dismissed. Let them keep underestimating me. They had no idea what was coming. The day of reckoning had arrived. I woke up energized, ready to finally confront Derek and expose his lies. I dressed for battle, in a sharp black pantsuit and heels. Slicked on bold, red lipstick, armor against whatever vitriol Derek threw at me. I felt strong, unbreakable. At the office, I breezed through my morning meetings, anticipation thrumming under my cool exterior. I messaged Jenna and Alex. It's time. During lunch, I asked Derek to meet me in a private conference room. He arrived looking guarded, clearly expecting me to grovel. Not this time. I slid a file folder across the table. Do you know what this is? Derek eyed me warily as he opened it, then paled. Where did you get these? I smiled coldly. Records of all your little trips to the casino, the ones you claimed were for business, gambling away company money to fund your habit. I slapped down another folder. And let's not forget the mountain of debt you've accumulated. Tell me, does your mistress Lisa know about your financial issues? Or did you lie to her like you lied to me? Derek shoved back his chair. Enough. I won't sit here and listen to these outrageous accusations. My hand shot out, clutching his wrist. Oh no, you're going to sit here and listen to every word, unless you want these files leaked to the board. I held his gaze. Well? Sweat beaded his forehead. Slowly, he sat back down. I smiled, all ice. That's what I thought. I slid the divorce papers across the table. Derek stared at them, dumbstruck. Sign them. This marriage is over and you know it. When he still hesitated, I pressed harder. Come on, Derek. Sign the papers so you can run to Lisa with a clear conscience. She is pregnant, isn't she? His head jerked up, eyes wide with shock. I waved a hand. Oh, please, you didn't actually think I was ignorant about your affair this whole time, did you? I leaned forward. Now sign, or everyone we know will find out exactly what kind of man they married. Your choice. With shaking hands, Derek scrawled his signature on the paperwork. I gathered the file folders and stood abruptly. Our lawyers will be in touch about the divorce settlement. Don't even think of trying to screw me over, Derek. You know I can and will destroy you if you do. I walked steadily from the room, head high. The confrontation had gone even better than I planned. Now for the final blow. At dinner that evening, I sat waiting with Jenna and Alex. Derek's parents arrived first, both tense. When Derek joined us, I shared a knowing look with Jenna. Time to light the final fire. We made it through the salad course before I broke the silence. Well, Derek, don't you have an announcement for your parents? Derek paled. Before he could respond, I continued cheerfully. Derek's going to be a father. Isn't that lovely news? A hush fell over the table. Then came the explosion. Derek's parents shouted and raged as Derek sat, condemned. I watched it all with grim satisfaction, the inferno I'd stoked consuming them completely. Finally I stood, silencing the room. I faced my in-laws, triumph surging through me. "You're welcome to the cheating mess of a son you raised. Consider this my official resignation from this family. I'm done covering for him." I strode out without looking back, Derek's shouts echoing behind me. I'd laid waste to everything he valued. Now to focus on building myself back up from the ashes. The fallout from my confrontation with Derek was immediate. He blew up my phone, leaving pleading voicemails and apologetic texts. His parents called too, demanding I reconsider. I ignored them all. The time for mercy was over. Jenna came over to debrief. "That was an epic takedown." "How are you holding up?" I sighed. "Relieved it's finally out in the open, but I want to make sure he doesn't get away with this." She nodded. "What do you need from me?" "I want to go after Derek financially in the divorce, bleed him dry, and I want to destroy his reputation." Jenna raised an eyebrow. "Playing hardball, I like it. I can start drafting aggressive terms for the settlement." "Good, he doesn't get to walk away from this unscathed." My phone buzzed with yet another pleading message from Derek. Delete. "What about his mistress, Lisa?" Jenna asked. "Any plans there?" I smiled slowly. "Oh yes. She wanted Derek so badly, she can have what's left of him." I'd spent years buried under Derek's lies. Never again. From now on, people would know exactly who they were dealing with. While Jenna handled the legal side, Alex and I planned Derek's social downfall. A few anonymous tips later, and the story of his tawdry affair and excessive gambling spread like wildfire through the office gossip channels. Derek was promptly placed on leave, pending an ethics investigation. I saved the damning evidence to leak publicly, if needed. With Derek's reputation in tatters, I asked Alex to dig deeper on Lisa. There had to be more ammunition we could use against her. Sure enough, he uncovered her damaging history as a homewrecker. Other affairs, broken engagements, manipulated men. She was a predator, and Derek her latest prey. Armed with the information, I reached out to her directly for the first time. "Lisa, we need to talk, woman to woman." She agreed to meet for coffee. As we sat staring at each other over lattes, I felt only cold contempt for the woman sitting across from me. Calculating, manipulative, cruel. She and Derek deserved each other. I slid a file over to her. "I assume you know who I am." Lisa glanced through the photos and records inside, then paled. "Where did you get these?" "That's not important. What is important is that you stay away from my husband." She stiffened. "Ex-husband. And I'll do as I please." I leaned forward. "I know women like you, Lisa. You target married men to satisfy some twisted need for power. I'm sure Derek spun quite the tale to get in your bed." I tapped the file. "But lies don't hold up forever. The truth has a way of coming out." I held her gaze. "Leave Derek. Focus on that baby, if it's even his, because if you don't, everyone you've ever crossed paths with will learn exactly what kind of person you are. I guarantee it." I left a shaken Lisa behind. Let her worry, Derek would learn the truth too. I wanted her constantly looking over her shoulder, like I'd had to do. Jenna was right. Playing hardball felt good. Taking back my power, exposing the ugliness Derek tried to hide, felt damn near euphoric. No more being the dutiful, forgiving wife. That woman died the day I learned Derek betrayed me again. Now someone new had risen from her ashes, someone who would never be used or dismissed again. I had been reborn, and it was time for my new life to begin. After exposing Derek's lies, I finally felt free. No more constantly looking over my shoulder, wondering when the next betrayal would come. It was liberating. The divorce proceedings advanced swiftly with the mountain of evidence against Derek. My lawyer assured me I'd get everything I asked for in the settlement. Derek didn't stand a chance. His mom still called frequently, pleading with me to give her son another chance. I blocked her number. They'd all shown their true colors. Now, they could live with the consequences. A few weeks later, Jenna called me grimly. "We have a problem. Lisa's still in the picture. Derek convinced her the baby is his." I pinched the bridge of my nose. Of course he did. Derek could charm his way out of anything when backed into a corner. "She's pressuring him to get shared custody in the divorce," Jenna continued. "Playing happy new family." An icy rage filled me. So they thought they could try and play me, even now? Like hell. "Set up a family dinner. Here, I want them all under one roof. Time for the final reckoning with Derek, Lisa, and his toxic parents. No more manipulating shadows, everything out in the open. On the night, I dressed in black armor again, bold red lipstick my war paint. Jenna and Alex arrived first, grimly determined. Right on time, Derek walked in with his parents flanking him on either side. Lisa trailed behind, wearing a dress stretched tight over her swollen belly. I greeted them with a shark-like smile. So nice to have the whole family together again. We sat, tension simmering. I kept the conversation light, biding my time, waiting until the main course was served before dropping my first verbal bomb. Lisa, you're positively glowing. When are you due? She blinked, hand going instinctively to her belly. Early next month. How exciting. Derek must be thrilled to welcome his first child. Across the table, Derek paled. Lisa shifted in her seat. Yes, well, we're both very happy. I'm sure, I smiled pleasantly. Though didn't you tell me you two only started seeing each other last fall? What an accelerated timeline. The table went silent. Lisa's eyes widened fractionally. Gotcha. Derek's mom recovered first. That's enough now, Marlene. Stop these ugly accusations. I ignored her, focusing on Lisa. Sweetie, surely you're aware Derek was still very much with me when you supposedly got pregnant? I hope he at least told you the truth about our relationship timeline. You lying bitch, Derek spat. Don't pretend our marriage was some happy fantasy. You checked out years ago. I shook my head. And whose fault was that, Derek? Or have you forgotten your chronic habit of screwing anything that walks? Chaos erupted. Lisa accused Derek of deceit. He shouted desperately, appealing to his parents for backup. They in turn screamed at me for causing a scene. Finally, I slammed my hand down, fed up. Enough, I'm done with the lies. I locked eyes with Lisa. That baby is not his. Stunned silence. Lisa's hand clutched her belly. How dare you? I tossed the paternity test results down with a thwop, watching the color drain from Derek's face. No more hiding. Lisa dissolved into tears. Derek vehemently denied it, but I could see the truth dawning in his eyes. They'd tried to play me and lost. Badly. Checkmate. I stood up calmly and addressed Lisa. You want Derek? You can keep him, but this ends tonight. We're done. I turned and strode away, finally free. Let Derek and Lisa turn on each other. My hands were clean. The family dinner felt like a tipping point. After exposing Lisa's lies, it was all finally crumbling for her and Derek. Lisa disappeared from the social scene, no doubt embarrassed by the entire affair. Derek bombarded me with angry texts, but I stood firm. We were over. Professionally, things shifted in my favor too. With Derek disgraced, upper management started relying on me more. I stepped up, determined to prove myself. A few weeks later, Jenna called me excitedly. You're never going to believe who just reached out to me. Who? Liam Montgomery, Lisa's ex-husband. I sat up straighter. This was an interesting development. What did he want? To talk to you. Apparently you two have a common enemy. I considered this. Liam had divorced Lisa years earlier under mysterious circumstances. If anyone knew secrets I could use against her, it was him. Set up a meeting, but discreetly. If word got back to Derek or Lisa... Jenna agreed. I'll handle it. This could be the ammunition we need to finally shut them down for good. We met Liam at a small cafe downtown. I studied the handsome, well-dressed man as he approached. He had a wounded air about him, despite the tailored suit and easy smile. Marlene, thank you for meeting me. We exchanged pleasantries before I cut to the chase. What do you want with me, Liam? His face darkened. Straight to business, I appreciate that. We have a common enemy in your husband and my ex-wife. I raised an eyebrow. Go on. I have information that could ruin them both socially and professionally, but I'll only share if we work together. I considered his offer. Liam had resources and insider access at his family's company. Combined with my evidence against Derek, we could inflict real damage. I extended my hand. You have a deal. Liam broke into a sharp grin. Excellent. We hashed out a plan to strategically leak information about Derek's unethical behavior and Lisa's sordid history. A coordinated takedown. Within days, the gossip rags were buzzing with sordid rumors about Derek's gambling and Lisa's affairs. The business journals questioned shady dealings at Montgomery Holdings. Their reputations were being shredded. But I wasn't done yet. Liam came through with one final bombshell. Evidence linking Lisa and Derek to corporate espionage against my family's company. Enough proof for authorities to get involved. I called an emergency meeting with the executives and board members, Liam by my side. As we presented the damaging documents, outrage erupted around the room. Derek's treachery went deeper than any of us realized. He'd abused his position to undercut the very company that had given him a career. The board immediately voted to fire Derek and pursue criminal charges. Justice was finally being served. As we left the meeting, Liam turned to me. I know this was about revenge for you, but I wanted to say thank you. Exposing Lisa and Derek, it brought me closure too. I saw the sincerity in his eyes. Liam hadn't just been motivated by payback. He needed to regain control after Lisa destroyed his life too. I understood completely. Of course. And thank you for having the courage to come forward. I'm just sorry you got caught in Lisa's web too. Liam nodded, looking thoughtful. You know, now that it's all over, maybe we could get dinner sometime. I considered him handsome, successful, principled. A man I knew I could trust. I'd like that, I replied, and I meant it. With Derek ruined professionally and Lisa in hiding, I decided to make my final move, seizing control of the company from Derek's family. As acting head of the business, I reviewed operations with a critical eye, building an airtight case for mismanagement under my father-in-law's leadership. With Liam's help, I also uncovered financial irregularities suggesting embezzlement. The old guard had been bleeding the company dry for years. No more. I called an emergency shareholders meeting and presented the damning evidence. When I proposed a vote of no confidence in the current leadership, the motion passed swiftly. The board named me as interim CEO. After the meeting, I stopped by my father-in-law's office. He sat grimly packing his possessions into a box. I hope you're satisfied, taking everything from our family. His voice shook with bitterness. I tilted my head. Satisfied? No, I won't be satisfied until your toxic son is permanently out of my life. My father-in-law slammed his fists on the desk. Damn you, Marlene. Derek loved you. I laughed coldly. Loved me? Is that what you call his chronic affairs and betrayals? I leaned in close, punctuating each word. He never loved me. With that, I walked out, leaving the old man fuming impotently. One chapter closed. With the company secure, I turned my attention to finalizing the divorce. My lawyer was ruthlessly efficient, securing me the house, investments, and a generous settlement in return for keeping Derek's misdeeds quiet. The day the papers were signed, I invited Jenna over to celebrate. I raised a glass. Here's to new beginnings. She clinked her glass against mine. To new beginnings, and Marlene 2.0, who takes no shot from anyone. I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in years. Derek was finally out of my life for good. Marlene 2.0, I liked the sound of that. A few weeks later, Liam took me out to dinner at an upscale restaurant downtown. Over wine and candlelight, our talk turned serious. I have to confess, I had an ulterior motive asking you here tonight, Liam said. I want to make this, us, official. He took my hands in his. You are an extraordinary woman, Marlene. I know we started off with revenge in common, but what I feel goes so much deeper now. I looked into his earnest eyes and saw genuine emotion there, a real second chance. I feel the same way, I confessed. I tried to deny it at first, but you've shown me I can love and trust again. I want that future with you. Liam broke into a smile. Then let's build it together. The next day, he accompanied me to Derek's mother's palatial estate. I handed her a copy of the divorce decree. It's done. Your son is dead to me now in every way. I trust there will be no further contact from any of you. My former mother-in-law glared. You'll regret this, Marlene. I glanced at Liam and squeezed his hand. No, I don't think I will, but Derek will, for the rest of his life. We walked out together into the sunshine, leaving the toxic past behind. I had everything I needed right beside me. The story of my marriage's ugly implosion made headlines for a while, but I held my head high through the gossip and whispers. I had nothing to hide anymore. In time, new scandals seized the public's attention. My reputation recovered, stronger than ever. With Liam as my partner, I transformed the company into a thriving modern business, and I took my rightful place as CEO on my own terms. My past self was gone, a distant memory. Now a powerful, unstoppable woman had risen in her place. Unbreakable, unstoppable, unleashed at last. This was my time now. How lovely to see my beautiful wife's radiant smile, Derek said, raising his glass in a toast. I froze, my grin melting faster than ice on a hot summer day. Wife? Radiant? I hadn't smiled in months. I scanned the formally set dining table that I certainly hadn't helped prepare. His family surrounded us, beaming. My own kinspersons were notably absent. Not that it mattered. After all, this dinner was to celebrate Derek's latest achievement, a fancy promotion or award or something. I had stopped listening to the specifics a while ago. Derek rambled on, the perfect host entertaining his perfect guests. I stared at my plate, pushing the expertly cooked food around with my fork, my appetite gone. He gestured expansively, praising his own culinary skills. Culinary skills I never knew he had. In our year of marriage, I had never once seen that man step foot in a kitchen. I dropped my fork, the clatter muted by the embroidered tablecloth. "When exactly did you learn to cook a gourmet meal?" I asked pointedly. "Considering all your recent business trips, I wasn't aware you had time to take cooking classes." An uncomfortable silence blanketed the table. I ignored it, focusing on Derek's reaction. Shock, then annoyance flashed across his face. He quickly schooled his features behind his trademark plastic smile. "Leanna, what a sense of humor you have." His forced laugh sounded shrill and panicked to my ears. "Good. You know my presentations run late, so I often have working dinners with clients." I raised a single eyebrow. "And these clients also taught you to expertly fillet a sea bass?" His father leapt to Derek's defense. "Now, Leanna," Calvin admonished, "you should be grateful for Derek's tireless work ethic. It's provided you with this lifestyle. Designer clothes, luxury vehicles, extravagant vacations." I bristled, biting back the retort poised on my tongue. My so-called lifestyle was nothing more than a gilded cage paid for with Derek's blood money, or at least the money I had assumed was his. Now doubts needled my mind. Forcing a tight smile, I turned to Derek's mother and deftly changed the subject. As she prattled on about her garden club, my thoughts roiled. When had Derek become so skilled in deception? More importantly, what else had he lied about? I needed answers. After the endless evening finally ended, I cornered Derek in our opulent living room. Hands on hips, I confronted his dishonesty. "I want the truth," I demanded. "No more lies or omissions." Derek's facade fully shattered, his handsome face twisting spitefully. "You humiliated me tonight with your baseless accusations," he snarled. I fought to maintain my composure. "Then prove me wrong," I challenged. His lips flattened into a hard, angry line. Then he turned abruptly and stalked out without another word. I watched him go, my heart cracking. In his icy silence I found all the proof I needed. My picture-perfect marriage now lay exposed as a complete sham. I had twisted myself to fit the role of perfect wife, quitting my job, relinquishing my own dreams and desires in favor of supporting Derek's ambitions. All because I believed our love to be real. That belief had rooted me when loneliness crept in, when doubt whispered insidiously that something wasn't right. No more. I refused to continue living this lie of a marriage. If Derek wouldn't give me the truth willingly, then I would just have to discover it for myself. The silence in our cavernous apartment pressed down on me, cold and heavy like a leaden shroud. I wandered listlessly between the ornate yet impersonal rooms, absently trailing one hand along the smooth marble countertops and luxury furnishings. What was once filled with promise and possibility now echoed with loss and regret in the all-consuming emptiness. I paused before the window overlooking the glittering city lights, a view that once inspired awe but now only emphasized my isolation 30 stories up in this tower of steel and glass, like a modern-day Rapunzel trapped in her own illusion of happiness. When had that illusion shattered completely? When had the emotional chasm between Derek and I become so vast? The changes had crept slowly, distance growing insidiously like black mold behind walls, invisible yet toxic. His long hours at the office stretched into weekends away at conferences, which blurred into overseas business trips. The trips came frequently now, often at a moment's notice. "Emergency client meetings," Derek would claim in his smooth voice after I'd confront him about a last-minute canceled dinner or trip. His words slipped between us as insubstantial as smoke, their plausibility eroding a little more each time. Something sinister lurked behind his well-crafted excuses. I sensed it in my marrow. Derek hid a dark truth, one he desperately did not want discovered. Well, the jig was up. After that disastrous dinner, I refused to swallow his lies any longer. My phone vibrated in my pocket, jolting me from my spiraling thoughts. Expecting Derek's name, a puzzled frown pulled my lips down when I saw the caller ID. My mother was the one person more enamored of Derek than I once was, ruthlessly pushing me toward marriage. For her to call was highly unusual. I slid my thumb across the screen, lifting the phone to my ear. "Leanna, thank God you answered." Her shrill voice was devoid of any warmth or affection. Before I could reply, she ranted on. "How could you embarrass Derek like that in front of his family? And then make a dramatic scene by leaving early? Have you lost all sense of propriety?" I blinked hard against the sting of tears. Of course she would take Derek's side, even over her own daughters. I drew in a long breath. Perhaps if either of you bothered to include me in family events, I might know how to behave properly. Bitterness roughened my words. Or was I supposed to intuit the expectations telepathically? A contemptuous sniff rattled through the line. There are no expectations for absent wives too self-absorbed in their own little worlds to support their hard-working husbands. She paused, then continued in a vicious tone meant to demean. Then again, Derek deserved better. A woman not so lacking in beauty or talent. Her criticism pierced my fragile confidence with the precision of an arrow, threatening emotional hemorrhaging. Gasping raggedly, I stabbed at the red circle on screen, ending the call before she could further shred my self-worth. Tears blurred my vision, but I refused to let them fall. How dare she attack me when I was the injured party? Derek's deceit apparently spread beyond ruining my reputation with his family. He had turned my own mother against me. Red-hot fury kindled in my gut, the flames fueled by pain and betrayal. If Derek insisted upon war, then I would not hesitate to scorch the earth to root him out. I swiped angrily at my eyes. No more tears, no more weakness. I needed to know exactly what Derek plotted in the dark shadows. Time to hunt down an informant capable of illuminating his lies. I scrutinized the business card clutched in my sweaty palm, memorizing the embossed lettering. George McNamara, private investigator. My last resort gleamed like a beacon of hope in the murky confusion my life had become. With courage fueled by desperation, I pushed through the nondescript door into McNamara's office. The space matched my expectations. Dimly lit, dusty Venetian blinds half drawn, filing cabinet in the corner. Behind a battle-scarred desk sat a bear of a man, his keen azure eyes belying his otherwise rumpled appearance. McNamara studied me, bushy salt-and-pepper eyebrows raised. "Mrs. Dalton, I presume?" His gravelly voice reminded me of worn truck tires rolling over gravel. I nodded, perching on the edge of the visitor's chair. My words tumbled out in a rush as I detailed my suspicions, ending with a plea. "I know he's hiding something, but I can't prove it. Please, you have to help me find the truth." The private eye leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled under his chin as he listened intently, his piercing gaze cataloging everything from my strained tone to my disheveled appearance. I squirmed under his scrutiny, painfully aware of how I must look with lank hair, yesterday's smudged makeup, and the same yoga pants and baggy sweater I'd worn for 3 days now. Hardly the image of a successful businessman's wife. Finally, McNamara leaned forward, his expression deadly serious. "I'll take the case, but brace yourself. The truth isn't always pretty." Relief loosened the tight coils of anxiety in my chest. I just need to know one way or another. The not knowing is eating me alive. I meant that literally, as I couldn't remember the last time I managed to choke down more than a few bites of food or a few fitful hours of nightmare-plagued sleep. This had to end. McNamara promised daily updates as he launched immediately into his investigation. I left his office feeling lighter than I had in ages, as if fresh air finally circulated in my oppressed lungs. The sensation lasted mere hours, popped like an iridescent soap bubble by my trilling cell phone. Caller ID announced the impending pinprick. Calvin Dalton. Wonderful. "Leanna Ellen Dalton," my father-in-law thundered without preamble. "How dare you smear Derek's good name with your family by spreading such atrocious lies? He is the most devoted, hard-working husband a woman could dream of having. That you fail to adequately support him is your deficiency, not his." Calvin ranted on as I sat stunned, his accusations striking me like physical blows. At last, the initial shock wore off, replaced by smoldering anger and a deep sense of betrayal. Derek continued spinning his web of lies, further undermining me with my own family. This time he had gone too far. I would not let him impugn my character, so my reputation lay in tatters while he played the martyr. "That is enough," I shouted into the phone, startling Calvin to silence. "The only one spreading lies is your precious son. Do not call me again with your misguided vitriol, because I will not listen to another word against my good name." I violently stabbed at the red icon on my phone screen, ending the call with a defiant jab. Blood roared in my ears and my breath came in ragged pants, fury simmering my blood. Derek insisted on playing dirty by ruining my family relationships? Fine. Then it was past time I fight back on his level. No more cowering in corners for me. I strode up the walkway lined with precisely trimmed box hedges to the sprawling Dalton family mansion, chin lifted with moxie mostly feigned. Time to face the lion's den. When Calvin phoned yesterday, insisting my presence was mandatory at some family milestone for Derek's sister Diana, I knew it for the ambush it was. Another opportunity for the Daltons to barrage me with condemnation for daring to sully their golden child's good reputation. Well, I refused to be the only target remaining in this vicious battle. Tonight, their famed perfect family dynamic would finally crack and splinter under the weight of truth too long suppressed. I just prayed my backbone would hold steady under their inevitable vitriol. Squaring my shoulders as if preparing for battle, I pressed the ornate doorbell. Calvin himself flung open the immense oak door, his usual genial smile replaced by a patronizing smirk. "Leanna, so glad you could join us tonight." The sarcasm dripped from each word like venom. "Right this way." He ushered me not into the house's soaring foyer but along the covered porch toward the rear veranda. Curious family members peered through curtained windows as we passed. My cheeks flamed, but I refused to show any weakness, spine rigid, and gaze focused straight ahead. We stepped through wide French doors onto the expansive flagstone patio swarmed with Dalton relatives under twinkle lights, like fireflies winking merrily in counterpoint to the building tension crackling through the space. Calvin guided me to the outdoor living area beside a massive stone fireplace where Derek perched on a leather sofa, every inch the conquering hero. "Leanna decided to grace us with her presence after all," Calvin proclaimed loudly with hand gestures as if presenting a zoo animal. "Shall we allow her a chance to defend her reprehensible behavior?" A tight smile stretched my lips, though fury blazed in my eyes. So that was their play, then. Fine by me. I cleared my throat delicately, then launched into my counterattack. "Actually, Calvin, I believe it is your son who owes everyone here an explanation." Gasps rippled through the crowd, but I pressed on recklessly. "The only behavior I'm guilty of is being foolish enough to trust a man apparently devoid of integrity." Murmurs rose as all eyes pivoted to Derek, still lounging arrogantly on the couch, one ankle propped casually atop the opposite knee. Though tension bracketed his mouth, he appeared nonplussed. "And pray tell, what lapse in integrity have I displayed?" Derek snapped caustically. "Working hard to support my wife so she may spend her days lunching and shopping to her heart's content?" Anger flared. Did he truly fail to comprehend the depth of his betrayal? I trembled with suppressed rage. "Do not attempt to twist facts with your distorted view of reality." My voice rang clearly in the sudden silence. "You know precisely what I reference. The days and nights you claimed were filled with important meetings while you deliberately concealed your true activities." I paused, pinning him with an unrelenting stare. "Who exactly have you been frequenting that condo on Park Avenue with Derek, and why have you purposefully hidden the truth from me?" The assembled family members inhaled their shock in unison. Eyes widened, shifted back to Derek. After an extended tense moment, my mother-in-law Millie broke the ringing quiet. "Well, how about a nice family picture?" Her falsely bright tone belied the panic in her eyes as the family illusion of perfection rapidly unraveled at the seams. I slid behind the wheel of my slate-gray Acura, pulse thrumming with exhilaration. Confronting Derek and his family's blindness to his faults filled me with crackling energy despite the sting of burns from their acidic contempt. However, my bravado shriveled when faced with the monumental task still ahead, proving Derek's infidelity. I twisted the key in the ignition. Time to do some detective work of my own. Pulling from the driveway, I headed toward Derek's sleek downtown office building, making good time in the sparse Sunday evening traffic. I eased into a spot in the shadowed parking garage, killing the lights but leaving the engine idling. Now to see if my wayward husband planned on logging weekend overtime tonight as well. I didn't have long to wait before a cherry-red Jaguar roared up to the executive parking section in the corner. I straightened in my seat, straining to confirm the driver's identity in the intermittent fluorescent lighting. Please let instincts be correct just this once. Then the interior flared to life as he opened the door and leaned in to gather his briefcase. Jackpot! My pulse leapt as Derek's handsome face was briefly illuminated. I watched him breeze inside, without glancing around like a man with a clear purpose. Where could he possibly be going this late on a Sunday? The offices stood dark and deserted on weekends, except perhaps for a clandestine rendezvous with that mystery woman I guessed awaited somewhere within. Drumming my fingers impatiently on the steering wheel, I weighed options: confront Derek directly and risk him slipping away, or trail him covertly to uncover the sordid truth. Given his talent for manipulation, I decided surveillance was my smartest, if not exactly noblest, choice. If I approached without concrete proof, he would undoubtedly twist scenarios and cast doubts until ending up the aggrieved innocent. Well, not this time, buddy. I cranked my engine and crept from the garage, catching sight of Derek's Jag pulling smoothly into traffic. Keeping a few vehicles between us, I shadowed him to an upscale condo tower 10 minutes away. Of course, the infamous Park Avenue property I had confronted him about just yesterday. At least now I knew for certain his denial was yet another bald-faced lie woven with practiced ease. No innocent reason existed for Derek to frequent an expensive condo clearly intended for clandestine affairs. I watched him swagger inside without a backwards glance. The private investigator I hired earlier this week likely knew all the specifics: who owned the property, how often Derek visited, and most importantly, who he met there. I just had to be patient and maintain surveillance until I received the PI's condemning report. Still, curiosity needled me. Who was worth risking his marriage and reputation over? Did Derek sneak off for secret romantic trysts with his assistant, a stranger from a seedy website for married affairs? Bile burned the back of my throat. Whoever she was, one thing seemed certain: this likely wasn't her first tango with a married man. Clearly an experienced predator. For now, I had seen enough. Starting my car, I pointed it back toward the privacy of my own apartment where I could call McNamara. Surely, he already possessed evidence revealing the depth of Derek's tangled web of lies and betrayal. I only hoped revealing that treachery to his beloved family would finally splinter Derek's picture-perfect illusions into jagged shards too sharp to repair. My soon-to-be ex-husband was overdue for a brutal wake-up call. I strode purposely into the lavishly decorated ballroom, chin lifted with confidence I didn't entirely feel. Time for the main event, publicly exposing Derek's duplicity to his family's elite social circle. I paused in the double doorway, scanning the room until I spotted my target holding court in the center of a sycophantic knot of businessmen. Gotcha. Adjusting my new designer cocktail dress, I glided through the room straight toward Derek, smiling toothily. The wolf entering the den of lions. Disengaging from his group with a puzzled frown, Derek moved to intercept me. "Leanna, what are you doing here?" I blinked innocently, attending my husband's important event just as a supportive spouse should. Wariness crept into his expression as his mouth tightened. Clearly he suspected brewing trouble. Good instincts. We faced off silently in the middle of the ornate room, tension charging the atmosphere like gathering thunderclouds. I relished stretching this moment, making Derek squirm. "Is that why you're wearing a sexy new dress and your hair styled?" He made an effort to keep his tone neutral, but his darting eyes betrayed unease. "Of course. I'm playing the glamorous wife tonight since your little mistress couldn't attend." My smile turned razor sharp. Gotcha. Derek actually paled beneath his artfully stubbled beard. "Leanna, I don't know what nonsense you're spewing now, but clearly you're confused. Oh, let's dispense with the lies for once." My voice rang out clearly in the sudden hush radiating through the room as all eyes pivoted toward us, standing in the center of the ornate space. I welcomed the rapt audience for Derek's imminent humiliation. Pulling a plain manila envelope from my small clutch with a dramatic flourish, I withdrew an 8x10 photograph capturing Derek in a passionate embrace with a gorgeous brunette, locked in a deep kiss as they entered an apartment building. His extravagant condo. This looks like all the proof anyone needs of your flagrant infidelity. I held up the incriminating evidence with a flourish as horrified gasps echoed. Derek lunged unsuccessfully to grab the photo. Gotcha again. Derek visibly crumbled before my eyes, impressive facade eroding. Gone was the urbane businessman's schmoozing associates, leaving a pathetically crushed man in an overpriced suit. Calvin shoved through the stunned onlookers, bravado weakened by distress. Son, this can't possibly be true. Explain yourself. Behind him, Derek's mother Millie dissolved into tearful hysterics, supported by her best friend Lorraine. Derek just stood mute, shoulders slumped and eyes clouded with despair. In that moment, he resembled a lost little boy more than a captain of industry. I recognized divorce's costly price, stamped raw across his face, his family standing in tattered ruins alongside our destroyed marriage. Get out! Calvin thundered, face mottled purple with rage as he pointed a rigid finger toward the exit. Don't expect sympathy or support from any of us after this ultimate betrayal. Derek cringed, nodding sadly before stumbling away on legs noticeably unsteady. The room unleashed a chaotic maelstrom of accusatory voices and racking sobs. I held myself tall amongst the debris, finally vindicated. My husband's spectacle of lies had collapsed like the House of Usher under the weight of truth. Now to see if its destruction freed me to rebuild my own life atop the rubble. I eased my sleek sedan against the curb half a block down from the imposing Dalton family manor, eyeing the flurry of activity outside the impressive home. The day after my nuclear detonation of Derek's established world order at the gala, and still the fallout continued. My lips quirked. Several days of relentless phone calls to the family matriarch finally resulted in this meeting with Millie. Time to find out whether the scales had fallen from her eyes yet regarding her fraudulent son's battered halo. My odds looked hopeful, judging by the catering vans and carpet cleaners steadily arriving, clearly preparing for my prodigal return to the family fold. I rummaged in my designer purse until fingers closed around cool metal. Extracting a heavy brass key, I rubbed my thumb across the ornate D embossed on the bow. The key to the kingdom, well, at least access to the Dalton family lair. A peace offering presented years ago by Millie herself when I first married her precious only son. Welcome to the family, sweetheart, she had exclaimed while pressing the weighty token into my palm. Then she pulled me into a warm, jasmine-scented hug that felt like coming home. I clung to that tender gesture now like a talisman, hoping enough maternal love lingered to bridge chasms torn wide by betrayal. After one last steadying breath, I slipped from the safety of my vehicle and clicked steadily up the paved walkway in my highest confidence-boosting heels. Time to face the lion's den. I pressed the brass key home, then eased the towering oak door open. Millie? I called tentatively. It's Leanna. A slender blonde whirlwind exploded from a side parlor, fielding me in a ferocious embrace redolent in Chanel No. 5. Leanna, my beautiful girl, Millie chirped brightly. We have so much catching up to do. Over steaming mugs of Earl Grey poured from heirloom china, whole stories spilled out in a cathartic rush. Of Derek's chronic detachment from his wife, the insidious isolation as he deliberately estranged me from family, his pathological lies spinning fictions until no truth remained. I knew something lurked beneath the surface, but I never imagined betrayal this cruel. Millie's weary eyes swam with fresh tears even now. My own child capable of such calculated deception, and toward those he supposedly loved. I reached across the polished mahogany table to grasp her graceful hands in mine. Derek alone owns responsibility for trading real relationships for superficial gain. I gentled my voice, adding with soft fervency, but you and I finding understanding today that finally feels like hope rising from the ashes. A watery yet true smile graced Millie's lips for the first time since I arrived. Oh, Leanna, of course I still love you like a daughter. We women must stick together now to heal these wounds. Sudden resolve hardened her delicate jawline, starting by cutting off Derek and his harlots completely. I blinked in surprise. Does this mean? Millie nodded vehemently. You were right confronting Derek's cheating publicly at the gala. His betrayal can't be concealed and forgiven. I should know. She broke off suddenly, waving one manicured hand as if swatting the past aside. Regardless, there must be consequences for such deception. I probed cautiously. Like withdrawing financial support so he can't continue living the high life with his mistress? A ruthless glint sparked in Millie's eyes. Exactly. Let the flashy leech pay his own bills for a change instead of tapping our accounts. Without money to burn, his bedazzled bimbo won't stick around anyway. She shrugged delicately. Serves him right for upending our entire family with his lies. For the first time since confronting Derek, bright hope pierced my heart. His own mother finally grasped the scope of his cruelty and now aligned firmly by my side. Together we would ensure Derek never destroyed an innocent woman again. Justice would be done. I rolled over with a luxuriant stretch, sunbeams tickling my face filtered softly through gauzy curtains. A glance at the clock confirmed I had indulged in a delightfully decadent mid-morning lie-in, without any obligations dragging me from the cozy nest of down-stuffed comforters. I could definitely become accustomed to leisurely mornings like this. Swinging my legs out of bed, I padded across artfully weathered hardwood floors and thick Turkish rugs to fling wide the curtains framing glass doors overlooking downtown. Beautiful morning sunshine glinted off skyscraper windows outside my panoramic penthouse view. I sighed happily. This new condo was everything my old place had not been. Bright, airy, and filled with possibility, just like this next chapter of my life. A knock interrupted my contented musings. I tugged a satin robe over my camisole pajamas and hurried to greet my guest. Swinging the door wide, I welcomed the aromas of freshly brewed coffee and warm pastries. "Good morning, gorgeous." Millie bustled in, bearing breakfast. "I thought we could celebrate over this lovely spread from that French patisserie you adore." Soon we relaxed together on the balcony, fueling girl talk with lattes and croissants while cawing seagulls wheeled over the skyline. I confessed the truth, I could barely acknowledge myself these past painful years. I knew in my core something was wrong almost from the beginning, I admitted quietly, eyes downcast. I felt Derek's emotional distance even during our honeymoon. Millie squeezed my hand supportively. "Yet you persevered because you're resilient and caring by nature." Her tone turned fierce. "But my son didn't deserve your beautiful spirit. He's proven completely unworthy." I brushed crumbs off my hands, appetite fading. If only I had trusted my instincts instead of making excuses. "Darling, stop punishing yourself. Hindsight brings clarity about red flags, but the present grants opportunity." Millie took my hands firmly, compelling my gaze to hers, glowing with conviction. "Now you're free to seek someone who truly cherishes you." I offered a tremulous smile, encouraged by her staunch validation. My phone chirped brightly. Glancing at the screen, my pulse quickened, seeing my lawyer's name. I answered immediately. "Leanna Dalton speaking? Yes?" Millie watched closely as I began grinning wildly. "That's wonderful news. Thank you for all your dedicated hard work securing this outcome." I disconnected the call and victoriously pumped both fists overhead. "My divorce is finalized at last. The judge approved my request given Derek's infidelity, and—" I drew out the dramatic moment. "I received 75% of all marital assets." Millie cheered loudly, grabbing my hands as we danced an impromptu jig. "Hallelujah! That philandering snake got his financial comeuppance. And you, my resourceful dear, are awarded means to make a fresh start on your own terms." I threw my arms around Millie, hugging her tightly with joyful abandon. Despite heartbreak and bitter struggles, I had reclaimed independence and self-respect by ultimately trusting my inner wisdom. Never again would any man devalue my worth or make me question my sanity. From now on, I shone as brightly as the blazing sunrise, lighting my path to a beautiful life of my own design. The future unfurled, filled with radiant possibility and hope. "Your time here is over." Marla's words sliced through me like shards of glass. Her steely gaze met mine, cold and unflinching. In her outstretched hand were 2 crumpled eviction notices. My tongue froze in my mouth as my daughter Ellie clutched my leg. I stammered, "What are you talking about? Get out, both of you." Marla flung the papers at me. "You have 2 weeks. This is our home," I shrieked. "You can't do this." Marla and I had never gotten along, but I endured her subtle digs and lacked warmth for my husband's sake. Dane could never see the manipulation behind her passive aggression. Our fairy tale romance bloomed quickly. Within a year, I was walking down the aisle, trusting Dane to provide the stable life I longed for. But my Prince Charming had one flaw: his overbearing mother. We compromised by living in Marla's sprawling guest house so she could help with Ellie. When Dane left for an overseas work assignment, the dynamic shifted. Marla's true colors emerged. Her demands became orders, her criticisms vicious attacks. I lost my autonomy, my place of belonging. I was a visitor in my own home. Marla smirked. "Oh, but I can, and I will. This is my house, my land. You are nothing but an unwanted guest." "How could you?" My voice cracked, years of unspoken hurts rising. "I have given up everything for this family." Marla stepped closer, her breath hot on my face. "Yet you have taken everything from my son," I staggered back. That's not true." "It is. You seduced him away from me, turned him against his own mother. You and your spawn don't belong here." Ellie began to cry, clutching my leg tighter. Rage and helplessness collided within me. "We're staying," I said firmly. "Dane would never allow this. He loves us." Something sinister flashed in Marla's eyes. "We'll see about that." She stormed upstairs, her footsteps booming overhead. I sank to the floor, Ellie curling into my lap. My mind raced over Marla's sudden cruelty. Had I missed signs over the years? Were there clues that she loathed my very existence? I thought of the snide comments, manipulative guilt trips, and undermining of my parenting. Yes, the clues were there all along. I just didn't let myself see them, blinded by hope and trust. The next morning, I awoke determined to stop Marla's scheme. With Dane overseas for 6 more months, I had to protect this household myself. As Ellie slept, I walked to the main house under the gray dawn light. I typed in the key code with trembling fingers. A red light flashed. Access denied. She changed the locks. I rushed to the garage side door. Locked. The back door, too. She had locked me out overnight, like a stray dog. Panicked, I ran to the front gate and dialed Dane's number. All I got was an automated message saying he was unavailable. Again and again I called. Nothing. The truth seeped in like ice through my veins. Marla had planned this meticulously. She had severed my connections, ensuring her actions went undeterred. I was utterly alone, my cries falling upon deaf ears. As lightning ripped through the bruised black clouds above, the first fat raindrops began to fall. I ran back to the guest house, my thin nightgown soaked and clinging. Ellie was awake now, her frightened eyes searching mine for answers. In them I saw my own helplessness reflected. At that moment, staring into my innocent daughter's eyes, a steely determination stirred within me. I would not let us end up on the streets. Surely there had to be help, someone who could overturn Marla's vicious scheming. I would fight tooth and nail to shield Ellie from harm. As thunder cracked ominously outside, I hugged Ellie tight. No matter what it took, I silently vowed justice would be served. The storm raged all night, sealing Ellie and I inside the guest house. When dawn broke, the locks remained unchanged. Marla had made her stance clear. We were trespassers now. My phone buzzed with a text from her. "Come collect your things. You have 1 hour." Lugging suitcases, Ellie and I hurried through the downpour. Marla stood at the open front door, watching us with narrowed eyes. "My jewelry box?" I asked as she shadowed me from room to room. "Dane's laptop? Not yours to take," she said. I spun around. "You can't just steal our stuff. And you can't just steal my son," she shrieked. "Get what's coming to you and get out." I wanted to slap her. But Ellie's frightened eyes stopped me. We worked in tense silence, Marla's presence suffocating. When I reached for a family photo, Marla snatched it away. "You lost the right to display this when you stole my son from me," she sneered. "I didn't steal Dane," I cried. "We fell in love." "Ha!" She glared at Ellie, cowering behind me. "You schemed to get pregnant and trap him. Admit it." "How dare you?" I spat back. "You are monstrous." Marla stepped closer, eyes ablaze. "Get out before I throw you out myself." My hands trembled, yearning to claw at her. Instead, I grabbed Ellie and the last bags. Marla followed us to the doorway. "If I catch you here again, I'm calling the police," she said. "You disgust me." She slammed the door with finality. The echo reverberated through my bones. "What do we do now, Mommy?" Ellie whimpered. "We'll figure it out, sweetie." I stroked her wet hair, my resolve hardening. There had to be help somewhere. We trudged down the long driveway. The gate clanged shut behind us with deafening finality. I didn't realize where we were heading until we stood at the bus stop. It offered little shelter from the biting rain. An elderly woman peered at us from under her umbrella. "Are you all right, dear?" I wanted to cry and scream. Instead, I said calmly, "We are fine, thank you." I didn't want to burden strangers with my troubles. Surely I could handle this. The bus wheezed to a stop. As we climbed aboard, the driver called, "Hey, no dripping wet people on my bus." I froze. "Please, we have nowhere else." "Rules are rules, lady. Now get off." The doors slammed shut. Ellie whimpered again. My stoic facade cracked. We were drenched and homeless now, all because of Marla's cruelty. We walked for ages, it seemed, my feet blistered in my soggy heels. Ellie's steps slowed. Finally I carried her, my arms burning. The rain softened to a drizzle as we reached the city center. My socks grated with grit. Exhaustion and hunger clawed at me. But I soldiered on, avoiding the judgmental gazes of passerbys. Finally, I sank onto a bus stop bench, Ellie curling up beside me. Shivering and defeated, stranded in this strange, heartless place. Suddenly the bench shook as someone settled heavily next to us. A large, bearded man reeking of booze. I shifted away, shielding Ellie protectively. He leered at me. "Rough night, sweetheart? I can make you feel real nice." He made crude gestures. Revulsion and rage surged within me. In that moment, I hated Marla with every fiber of my being. She had reduced us to this, vulnerable, endangered, adrift. Her vengeance wouldn't just upend my world, but could destroy Ellie's innocence. As the man leaned closer, I hugged my daughter tight. With icy clarity, I knew, if it came down to it, I would kill Marla with my bare hands to protect this precious child. I grabbed Ellie's hand and fled from the leering drunk, his taunts ringing in my ears. My legs shook and tears blurred my vision, but I kept running till the bus stop was out of sight. Gasping for air, I sank onto a bench outside a cafe. Ellie climbed into my lap, her small body quaking with sobs that racked my heart. Why are people being so mean, Mommy?" I stroked her hair, a lump rising in my throat. "I don't know, sweetie, but we'll be okay." She gazed up at me with Dane's trusting eyes. In them I saw my fraying composure reflected back. I couldn't fall apart now, no matter how heavy the storm raging within me. Just then a waitress stepped outside, eyeing us warily. "Hey, no loitering here." Humiliation flooded me as wandering eyes paused to stare. Gripping Ellie's hand, we hurried on once more. As we walked, I overheard snippets of conversation at the bus stops and cafes we passed. Complaining about the rain, excited weekend plans, normal people leading normal lives. While Ellie and I wandered like pariahs, burdened by Marla's cruelty, no one spared us a second glance. By evening, blisters oozed in my shoes. My drenched cardigan provided little warmth as the rain picked up again. We took shelter in a metro station, huddling together on plastic seats. Commuters bustled past with annoyance or indifference. We were out of place in their orderly worlds. As we sat shivering, a gang of teenagers sauntered up. Their bold gaze raked over me. One of them licked his lips, calling to his friends. "Little fishies seem lost from the school. Maybe we help return them home?" They laughed at some vile secret joke. My skin crawled, but I met his eyes unflinchingly. "We don't want any trouble, thanks. Please just leave us alone." Their grinning leader leaned in, his hot breath assaulting me. "Oh, but we can show you ladies some fun." Just then a security guard noticed the commotion. The youth scattered into the crowds. As we rode the late metro home, Ellie asked in a small voice, "Mommy, why are people being so scary? Do we seem bad?" My heart shattered. My brave girl didn't deserve this. She needed nurture, not exposure to the dark underbelly of dispassionate society. This was all Marla's doing. As we walked the empty streets to the nearby shelter, bleak hopelessness washed over me. We were adrift with doors slammed in our faces every turn. Easy prey for urban ghouls. Out here we had no rights, no allies. The shelter staff were kind at least. They brought soup and blankets and let Ellie pick a battered toy from a donation box. But we slept fitfully on hard cots cramped beside other homeless people. The air hung heavy with sour smells of confined bodies, cigarettes, and unwashed clothes. Every noise jolted me awake, clutching Ellie close in the dingy dimness. By morning, my resolve solidified into cold fury. When normal society discards you without care, you must take justice into your own hands. Laws did not apply to us vagrants. So why should I play by rules that kept failing me and my daughter? As we gathered our meager belongings the next morning, a young woman hurried over. "Excuse me, are you Serafina? Someone left an odd message for you." She handed me a scribbled note that simply read, "I can help you. Meet at the Lion Plaza fountain at noon." My eyes narrowed. Was this some trick of Marla's, a trap to lure us and lock us away for good? Perhaps she had hired local thugs to solve her problem permanently. I crumpled the note, ready to toss it out. Then I paused, smoothing it on my knee instead. Whoever had written this seemed to know we needed help desperately. What did we have left to lose in hearing them out? I had to take the risk, for both Ellie's sake and for mine, because the fury simmering within yearned to burst forth, needing only a conduit. If this mysterious meeting granted me that chance, then so be it. Resolve hardened into reckless abandon, and just maybe a hint of hope flickered within. We would go to this Lion Plaza rendezvous, our future balanced on whatever awaited there, be it trap or lifeline. Lion Plaza loomed before us, a lion's statue guarding its glossy facade. Ellie squeezed my hand as we navigated smartly dressed professionals striding by with purpose. We stood out in our rumpled clothes, receiving sideways glances and wide berths. At the burbling fountain stood a woman scanning the crowds intently. As we approached, she broke into a smile. "Serafina? I'm so glad you came. I'm Nina." Her warm demeanor surprised me. I tensed, ready to grab Ellie and flee. "Did Marla send you? Is this some kind of trap?" Nina blinked. "You mean Mrs. Marlowe? Oh gosh, no, but it sounds like she has put you through the ringer." Her brows furrowed with concern. Warily I asked, "Then who are you and what do you want?" Nina gestured to a nearby cafe. Once seated with cups of hot chocolate, she began. "I'm a social justice lawyer. I got your case file recently." She showed me a brown folder bearing our family name. "I handle housing disputes and wrongful evictions." "So you can help us get our home back from Marla?" Hope and suspicion vied within me. "I'm certainly going to try. What she has done is illegal on so many grounds. As Dane's wife, you have as much right to that home as she does. I just need some details to build a solid case." Over the next hour, the full story poured out of me. Years of subtle abuse, feeling unwelcome in my own house, Ellie and I cast out and cut off like criminals. Nina's outrage grew. "This is absolutely reprehensible. Don't you worry, I will fight tooth and nail for you. That terrible woman needs a wake-up call. Please let me help you seek justice." Her vehement support felt alien after days of indifference from society. I found myself nodding and placing tentative trust in this fiery stranger. "So what now?" I asked. "Do we have a decent shot against Marla's lawyers?" "More than decent," Nina declared. "I did some digging on Mrs. Marlowe. Did you know she faces federal charges of tax fraud and misuse of pension funds?" I gaped as she showed me printed articles detailing Marla's alleged shady financial activities. "This gives us serious leverage," Nina continued. "I say we force mediation to regain access to your home ASAP, then pursue full financial restitution for these past weeks. Marla owes you big time." My mind reeled, hope and hunger for vengeance tangling within. Nina gripped my hand. "I won't rest until justice is served. That I promise you. Marla picked the wrong girl to mess with this time." Her steely smile mirrored the cold determination crystallizing within me. The lesson was clear. In the face of adversity, the meek acquiesce while the fierce rise up. Gathering my courage and outrage, I would channel them with precision to cut Marla down to size. The days that followed passed in a blur. Nina filed injunctions while I gave statements to investigators regarding Marla's financial fraud. Serving her eviction notices felt deliciously poetic. For the first time I held power while she scrambled for footing. Soon we had a court date where Marla would have to publicly account for wrongful eviction, abuse, and misuse of my husband's assets. The night before I lay awake, playing out confrontation scenarios. Marla's demise became an obsession, lighting my days with purpose. Nina suggested forgiveness may bring me peace. I disagreed. Only seeing Marla stripped of her pride, wealth, and status would satisfy me now. She had awoken a vindictive fury that would only be quelled by her absolute ruin. My dreams held no mercy either, featuring Marla begging on bare knees for pardon I would not grant. I wanted it in writing that she renounced all rights to our family. I longed to grind her face into the dirt, emotionally, financially, existentially. She had to fully grasp my suffering. In the golden courtroom light next morning, I cradled Ellie close. My fury awaited its reckoning with bated breath. One way or another, Marla would pay the toll for her cruelty today. Of that I was wholly certain, without shred of doubt or hesitation. Justice would be done, by law or by my own hands if needed. The click of Marla's heels echoed like gunshots through the hushed courtroom. I steadied my nerves as she approached the stand, halting mere feet from me. Her icy glare bore through my skull. The hearing progressed efficiently thanks to Nina's thorough documentation of Marla's misdeeds. As the judge reviewed signed testimonies, Nina leaned over. "The law is on our side, but she's refusing to settle. Get ready, she wants blood." When Marla took the stand, her voice filled the room. "These allegations are preposterous. I devoted my life to my son. Then this woman seduced him away with an intentional pregnancy." She jabbed a finger viciously in my direction. "They sponged off my home for years before turning my own son against me." The room erupted into objections as she continued spewing venom about my treachery and deceit. The judge pounded his gavel impatiently while my nails carved crescents in my skin. "Enough!" the judge ordered Marla to restrict her statements to facts. I wanted to leap over the benches and gag her myself. When her diatribe ended, Nina rose swiftly. "Do you deny committing financial fraud repeatedly for decades, including this past month?" "Certainly not." Marla's glare darkened. "Unethical accountants made clerical errors I intend to rectify." "Interesting." Nina raised documents detailing Marla's credit card debts and bad loans. "So forging your son's signature to make stock market payments cleared in his name this year alone was just a clerical error?" The courtroom stirred. Marla visibly blanched but quickly regained composure. "As I said, errors occurred due to accountants I clearly cannot trust anymore." Well, as per signed legal affidavits, Nina proceeded to outline witnesses testifying to Marla's emotional abuse and controlling behavior towards me. Dane's secretary confirmed intercepting my calls for help on Marla's instructions. With each damning revelation, I relished watching Marla's facade crumble. Her fingers worried the pearls at her throat continuously. Under the weight of facts, her web of lies collapsed, strand by strand. Finally, Nina concluded by attesting the eviction itself was unlawful on multiple grounds. As closing statements ended, palpable tension choked the room. When the gavel struck, my heart leapt. Given factual evidence, the court rules in favor of the plaintiff, upholding her legal rights to the household and associated assets. A crashing noise made heads swivel towards Marla. Pearls scattered across the floor where she had ripped her necklace off in fury. 2 armed guards flanked her as she trembled in outrage. When Nina squeezed my hand, the knot in my chest finally loosened. I wanted to melt in sheer relief. Instead, I said clearly, "Thank you, Your Honor, for delivering justice today." Marla spat venom at me till the guards escorted her out. The room cleared swiftly, people shaking my hand and commending my courage. In glorious vindication, I signed the court orders granting me power over the house, assets, and staff. "We did it," Nina cried, hugging me gleefully. I let out a long breath, feeling drained and almost disappointed. Somehow Marla's slow unraveling hadn't satisfied me enough. I craved to personally snap her composure, not just legally defeat her. As if reading my mind, Nina said gently, "I know you hoped for an emotional apology too, but the law delivered justice regardless. Focus on moving forward now, away from toxicity and toward stability and peace." I nodded, knowing she spoke wisdom. But my heart still snarled for retaliation, not yet sated. I yearned to wring Marla dry myself. As we stepped out into the warm sunset, I checked my phone out of habit. A text from Dane glowed on the screen, my heart stopping. "Boarding flight home. Can't wait to see your faces when I surprise you tomorrow." I read Dane's text again, my stomach churning. How would I explain these harrowing months to him? Worse still, how would Marla twist events to vilify me instead? She would undoubtedly ambush him first. As Nina drove us to a hotel for the night, I agonized over what awaited at home. I had to intercept Dane before Marla's selective version poisoned his mind. At dawn, I was a bundle of nerves pacing the modest room. Today would test the limits of Dane's devotion. Surely our marriage could withstand his mother's schemes. Surely he knew my spirit, my steadfast commitment transcending the ugliness birthed of late. My phone flashed with a text summoning us home urgently to discuss recent concerning incidents. My heart sank. suspicions confirmed. Marla had already sunk her claws into my unwitting husband. The drive home stretched endlessly. I rehearsed defenses against imagined attacks. Ellie dozed, blissfully unaware of the viper's nest awaiting us. At long last, the imposing iron gates of Marla's manor swung open. Memories, tender, tempestuous, and traumatic, flooded my senses. In the foyer stood Dane, travel-worn but whole. Our eyes met, and in his deep brown gaze swirled bewilderment, hurt. And was that wary suspicion? Before I could move, he stepped forward, enfolding me in a hug that felt perfunctory. I heard Marla's shrill voice from the sitting room spewing her fictionalized version, no doubt. Dane released me, holding me at arm's length. "What happened here?" Mother said, well, she said. Confusion creased his handsome face, once untroubled by doubts. I opened my mouth, but Marla swept into view, an imposing specter in black silks. "Dane, thank goodness you've come." She clung to his arm possessively. "This woman has lost her wits, I fear. She served me outrageous legal notices while you were away, even called the police with wild accusations." "That's not true," I cried. "She abused and evicted Ellie and I illegally. I have court orders." "Lies." Marla's eyes blazed. "She tried ransacking our family assets, turned sentimental staff against me, who I treated like my own." Dane looked utterly bewildered, gaze ping-ponging between us. As the shrill accusations overlapped, he held up a hand forcefully. "Enough. Clearly there is more here than I grasp. Mother, let Serafina speak without interruptions. I think mediation tomorrow will do us good." I exhaled in relief. Dane's integrity shone through despite the mudslinging. However, his ensuing aloofness stung that night. We slept in separate guest rooms at his insistence to remain impartial for now. It churned my gut imagining Marla's poison seeping into intimate crevices of our marriage. The next evening, Dane gathered us in the rosewood-paneled study. Marla sat stone-faced, over-roused, and under-eye bagged, her gaze promising revenge. I stated our case calmly, then presented documents corroborating events, police reports, witness testimonies, including those of former staff Marla had fired. With each betrayal revealed, her expression curdled further. "Why did the court rule fully in Serafina's favor if these accusations held no merit, Mother?" Dane asked finally. Marla stammered vainly, but vicious insults dried up under his probing stare. I concluded gently with empathy for family bonds fracturing under duress. Appeals for reconciliation hung in the air but were met only by Marla's scoffing dismissal. Dane passed a weary hand over his eyes. "I see enough evidence to understand gross injustice occurred in my absence." He took my hand then, a healing salve to my battered spirit. Marla rose, livid. "You would pick that woman over your own mother. She has bewitched your mind." Dane regarded her evenly. "There is no question of picking teams here. I am simply acting based on facts and principles we all should uphold." His unflinching morality tempered the lingering ache for outright revenge in my heart. Instead, grace took seed there. Our new life bloomed beautifully free of Marla's shadow. Her appeals against the court orders failed repeatedly. With money recovered from her years of financial deceit, I nurtured dreams forlorn in stale air. Ellie thrived with Dane's loving mentorship. 6 peaceful months passed before Detective Morris rang one morning. Marla had overdosed last evening on prescription pills mixed with vodka. Her parting note left no doubt she intended the timing to devastate Dane. One final vengeful scheme from the grave. Dane wept over her portrait. I shed no tears, feeling only the relief of knowing her lifelong efforts to destroy our happiness had ultimately destroyed her instead. I dropped the phone, shock reverberating through me. Marla was dead, by choice. The room tilted as I sank into a chair, hugging myself against an odd chill. Somehow it felt anticlimactic for her toxic presence to simply wink out overnight. After decades devoted to criticizing my every breath, she robbed me even of closure by exiting on her own terms. She remained an infuriating enigma I had futilely battled. In losing, perhaps her solitary victory was retaining that mask of mystery veiling innate darkness. Dane returned home shaken that evening. Police had discovered litters of alcohol stashed under Marla's bed, despite her abstinence pledges to us over the years. Her unsent letters unleashed vitriol, blaming me entirely for her miserable isolation. Even beyond the grave, she spewed blame on her chosen scapegoat. I should have felt fury or frustration. Instead, profound sadness for squandered generosity washed over me. Despite Marla's efforts to eclipse my spirit, she had only eclipsed her own. Weeks passed in a daze helping Dane handle her estate. I had worried her death may drive an irreparable wedge of grief between us, but it brought epiphanies that tightened our bond instead. Dane examined bank activity, exposing Marla had embezzled vast sums from family ventures for years. She had deceived him down to exact dollar amounts on trust fund statements. Her betrayal ran bone deep, though he had forgiven and indulged her lifetime. I knew that pain intimately myself, of realizing your place and worth in a loved one's life was but mirage and illusion. No matter how selflessly or wholeheartedly you gave, it faded to nothing through twisted lenses of selfishness. Maybe that's why Dane and I grew closer after her passing. We finally recognized each other as kindred spirits equally scarred. Our solace emerged in long overdue honesty. With Marla's death, the burden of unrealized expectations lifted too. I observed changes in Dane. Steadfast gentleness gave way to playfulness and open affection. Freed from her critical presence, our marriage deepened roots resilient to the storms weathered. Soon lighter news turned attention to the future. Our family would grow with a new baby come winter. Dane was elated, immediately discussing plans for the nursery and making educational investment portfolios. When we told Ellie she would be a big sister, her joy lit up the room. "The baby can have all my old toys. I'll help take care of it too. We'll be gentle, I promise." Her innocent excitement sparked an idea that Dane and I mulled for months. Ultimately, we signed custody papers granting us legal guardianship of Marla's youngest niece, Alexandra. Raising a 3-year-old and newborn simultaneously was daunting, but we were determined to carry on Marla's legacy with the right foundations. Maybe symbolic redemption also wove through our intentions. Alexandra was a sunny child despite her own turbulent past. As I braided her hair each morning, my heart swelled with fierce protectiveness for her future. Late each night, Dane and I would tuck both our slumbering girls into bed with whispered affection. Then we would linger over photos of Marla through the decades, beautiful bride glowing under her veil, doting young mom cuddling her only son. I recognized myself mirrored across time in her lingering gaze at newborn Dane. That primal urge to nurture life's most precious gift transcended even our bloodied history. Perhaps inner humanity bound us all still, however hidden beneath churning tides of bitterness or blame. If one bothered piercing the surface far enough, flickers might emerge from even the murkiest depths. Glimpses swam through my mind then, Marla adjusting my gown's necklace moments before I married her son, her uneven attempts at baking Ellie's birthday cake yearly, brief interludes of almost connection, but they lasted mere moments before malice yanked Marla under again. And so our turbulent dance endured years, never fully losing rhythm, until the still silence of loss, muted music, twisted by ire. In peaceful twilight glow now I contemplated her portrait displayed in honor. Lingering shadows yet marred her likeness for me. With sighing acceptance, finally I let dulled burdens slip their stubborn hooks from my soul. Tomorrow's dawn felt a shade brighter already. I awoke before dawn, pulled from sleep by an unfamiliar pang. Today was the anniversary of Marla's death. 1 year since her last malevolent strike carved grief between Dane and I. Yet looking back, times darkened had ushered in relating with newfound richness. Loss had laid foundations for growth beyond imagined. I tiptoed downstairs where Dane stood gazing out the window, coffee mug untouched on the table beside him. Wordlessly, I slipped my hand in his, sunlight slowly illuminating our reflection in the glass. "I was dreaming about her last trips to the galleries with me," Dane said softly. "She taught me to cultivate an eye for brushstroke textures. We would debate interpretations for hours." I listened silently, no longer bristling when Marla inhabited his musings. The past year had taught me compassion for pains born of love's complexity. Dane turned suddenly, urgency in his voice. "I apologize for being unavailable when you both needed me most. It gutted me realizing how she failed you so selfishly." I squeezed his hand, our solace flowing freely sans pride's restraints. "You kept faith despite every odd. What we endured revealed who truly had eyes to see our essence." Dane revealed he had permanently closed Marla's embezzling accounts, redirecting funds to trust funds for Alexandra and our sons. "I should have managed her crooked finances more astutely myself," he admitted. "Now the future will know rectitude." As we spoke, a fresh vista emerged, one with crystal air granting clear sight to veil-piercing eyes. A transformed topography of vulnerability bridging distances isolating. The day passed peacefully, the house filled with Alexandra's giggles as Ellie inducted her new doll. By evening, solemnity veiled Dane's eyes again at Marla's favorite restaurant. Had resentment marred our remembrance despite resolve otherwise? Upon returning, lively chaos greeted us instead. The kids had strewn living room cushions, creating a play fortress. Their ecstatic creativity eddied around Dane and I as we sank down smiling. Weight of unspoken hurts seemed to lift from our shoulders. As I rested my head on his shoulder, Dane said gently, "This spaciousness was unavailable while Mother dominated our psyche and home, but Alexandra embodies openings still possible. Truly, shadows could not fully overwhelm light bold enough. Through youthful resilience, goodness had carved inroads revealing glinting hopes. Over a blaze fireplace, I read a framed Rilke verse newly mounted. Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror, just keep going. No feeling is final." Those timeless lines now evoked Marla rather profoundly. Our interwoven lives testified to the deceased never fully absenting from the living they marked. Through memory's continuous stream, echoes rippled beyond departures defying finality. Emotions distilled over fraught decades swirled continuously between us all still, longing for reconciliation. So I breathed deeply, inviting understanding to settle any lasting resentment. The past's grip had loosened sufficiently by now, surely. I stared at dancing flames like a seer seeking revelation in glowing embers. An urge emerged to voice words never uttered to Marla herself in life. So I whispered into vast eternity beyond, "May you discover the abounding love eluding your reach here, where souls reconvene unfettered." Something like consecration flowed through the quiet room just then. Dane held me closer, this newfound bond a sanctuary mooring us against fitful spirits still roaming the psyche's foggy terrain. Soon, children's bedtime rituals claimed our attention fully. We immersed in goodnight songs and silly rhymes, shielding their dreaming from this date's morning. As both girls drifted asleep, Dane asked, "Do you think she found any sort of peace?" I recognized the search for validation in his eyes, that inner light had breached Marla's darkness somewhere. I touched his cheek, more tenderness than certainty rooting me. That is beyond our judgment now. We walk this terrain relying on our own light instead. Outside, the inky night sky glimmered with stars defying comprehension, yet radiant still. No matter how dense the darkness, luminosity endures, beckoning vision higher. On this truth we could stand firm. The searing pain hit me like a bolt of lightning, radiating from my core through every nerve ending in my body. I cried out, gripping the bed rails until my knuckles turned white. The contractions were coming faster now, intense waves slamming into me. "You're doing great. Just keep breathing," the nurse encouraged. I tried to focus on her calming voice, using it as an anchor against the agony. After what felt like an eternity, I heard the sharp cries of a newborn pierce the air. "It's a girl," the doctor proclaimed. Relief and joy flooded through me as they placed my precious baby girl into my arms. Her tiny fingers grasped at mine as I held her close. In that moment, all the pain dissolved away. I looked up to see Nolan, my husband of 5 years, staring down at us. But instead of the loving gaze I expected, his face was etched with tension. His eyes flickered with an emotion I couldn't quite place. "She's perfect," I whispered, tears of happiness trailing down my cheeks. Nolan gave a curt nod. "Get some rest. I need to make a call," he said abruptly before slipping out of the room. A gnawing feeling began to take hold in my gut. Something wasn't right. Ever since I had gotten pregnant, Nolan had grown increasingly distant and cold. It was a stark contrast to the man I fell in love with, who had once been my biggest supporter. I tried to push away the dark thoughts creeping in. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Nolan returned half an hour later, his jaw clenched. I searched his face, looking for any trace of joy or excitement, but found none. "Who was on the phone?" I asked. He avoided my gaze. "No one. Look, we need to talk." I noticed he was still wearing his wedding ring, the plain gold band I had placed on his finger 5 years ago, the one he promised he would never take off. But now it seemed like a lie. "What's going on?" I demanded, my voice shaking. Nolan stood rigidly at the foot of the bed, his eyes cold. "This isn't working. I've tried, but I can't do this anymore." His words dropped like stones in the pit of my stomach. "Do what exactly?" "This." He made a gesture with his hand. "I'm in love with someone else." The room started spinning. This had to be a nightmare. "What are you saying?" I whispered. He shoved his hands in his pockets. "Her name is Cassidy. We've been seeing each other for months. I'm going to be with her." Suddenly, the past year replayed in my mind on fast forward. Nolan's unexplained absences, his emotional distance, it all clicked into place. Rage boiled up inside me. "You cheated on me while I was pregnant with your child." He stood there, stone-faced. "Cassidy was there for me in ways you weren't." The audacity of his words stole the breath from my lungs. I glared at him with every ounce of loathing I could muster. "Get out," I seethed. "Get out before I call security to drag you out of here." For a moment, Nolan just stared at me. Then, without another word, he turned and left, the door clicking shut behind him with dreadful finality. I looked down at my innocent baby, still cradled protectively in my arms. Nolan had turned his back on us, but I would never abandon my child. A steely resolve rose up within me, cutting through the shock and anguish. If Nolan wanted a war, he would get one. I would make him regret the day he ever betrayed us. The next few days passed in a haze of feedings, diaper changes, and sporadic bursts of sleep. My thoughts constantly drifted back to Nolan's cruel revelation in the hospital room. I replayed the scene over and over, analyzing every detail. The cold detachment in his eyes, the matter-of-fact tone as he declared his love for another woman. My best friend Juliana came to visit often, helping around the house and providing a sympathetic ear. I found myself obsessively recounting Nolan's betrayal to her, as if speaking the words aloud might miraculously change them. "That bastard! I never trusted him," Juliana declared, her eyes flashing. "Don't waste another second worrying about that snake." I sighed, adjusting the swaddled newborn in my arms. "I just don't understand how he could do this. We were so happy once." Juliana shook her head. "People show their true colors eventually. He never deserved you." I thought back to the early days with Nolan, how he used to surprise me with flowers, how we would stay up all night talking. When had it all gone wrong? "I ignored so many red flags," I said quietly. "The late nights at the office, the locked phone screen. I feel so stupid." "This is not your fault." Juliana squeezed my shoulder. "Nolan chose to betray his vows. Don't let him make you feel guilty, too." Over the next few weeks, I tried to focus on healing both physically and emotionally. But lingering doubts continued to plague me. I needed proof of Nolan's affair, some tangible confirmation that this Cassidy person truly existed. One evening, Juliana arrived on my doorstep, eyes blazing with fury. That asshole thought he could keep his little secret contained at the office. Well, it's all out in the open now. She revealed that she had discreetly investigated at the company where Nolan and I both worked. Rumors of his affair with a younger colleague named Cassidy had spread like wildfire. "It's definitely the same woman he mentioned," I said bitterly. "He wasn't even trying to hide it from people at work." Juliana nodded. "I'm so sorry, Alara, but at least now you know the truth. He doesn't deserve your tears." Hot anger pulsed through me as reality sank in. Nolan had paraded his mistress around, utterly unconcerned about my pain or public humiliation. I pictured his smug face and felt pure loathing wash over me. He had slipped the knife in my back when I was at my most vulnerable. Well, it was time I returned the favor. A week later, I was finally discharged from the hospital with strict instructions to rest and recover. As I settled into my bedroom, a sense of peace washed over me. For the first time since that wretched day, Nolan destroyed our lives. I had just finished nursing the baby when the doorbell rang. Still sore and fatigued, I slowly made my way downstairs. I froze when I opened the front door. Nolan stood on the porch next to a slender blonde woman I could only assume was Cassidy. Before I could react, they brushed past me into the foyer. "What the hell are you doing here?" I demanded, blocking their path. Nolan glanced around impatiently. "I'm here for my things. Cassidy will help me pack up." I gaped at them. Did they think they could just barge in and take over? Cassidy gave me a disparaging look. "We're here to take the baby, too. She deserves a proper home." Rage surged within me. "You must be out of your damn minds if you think I'm letting her go anywhere with you," I spat. Nolan stepped forward menacingly. I will be a part of my daughter's life, like it or not. Over my dead body, I snarled. Get out before I call the cops. Just then I heard the front door swing open again behind me. I wouldn't unpack just yet if I were you, came Juliana's voice. I turned to see her waving a manila envelope, eyes flashing. Nolan paled at the sight of her. In fact, I think you'll both be cleaning out your desks at the office instead, she continued. Cassidy let out a scoff. And who the hell are you? Who I am doesn't matter. What matters is that I have enough evidence here of your sordid affair to bury you both. Juliana pulled out printed emails and photographed text conversations documenting their relationship, all time-stamped during my pregnancy. Nolan lunged for the papers, but Juliana yanked them away. Ah, too late. Copies have already been sent to the head office. Hope you don't mind facing a sexual harassment investigation, Cassidy. Cassidy gasped, glanced frantically at Nolan, then fled for the still-open door. After a final venomous glare, Nolan followed close behind. I turned to Juliana, awestruck. How did you get all that? She winked. I have my sources. No one messes with my best friend. Relief swept over me. Once again, Juliana had proven herself a loyal ally. While Nolan and his mistress reaped the bitter harvest of their lies, I would keep forging ahead. Upstairs, my innocent baby slept soundly, unaware of the darkness that had invaded our lives. Gazing at her sweet face, I knew I would move mountains to make sure she never suffered like I had. Nolan had slipped the knife in my back when I was vulnerable. Now it was my turn to take everything from him. His dignity, his career, his reputation. The only thought sweeter than revenge was the chance to start over, far from his shadow. The next morning, I received an urgent call from Juliana, instructing me to get to the office immediately. Still weak and sore, I reluctantly left my newborn with a neighbor and drove downtown. Juliana met me outside the towering glass building that housed our company's headquarters. I hope you're ready for a show, she said with a sly grin. Up in the executive wing, we stepped into a posh waiting area outside the president's office. Cassidy was already there, pacing and biting her nails. When she saw me, her eyes flashed with hatred. At that moment, the office door swung open and Nolan stalked out, face pale. He froze when he saw us, fear creeping into his expression. Mr. Harlan, the company president, emerged behind Nolan and beckoned us all inside. Please, have a seat, Harlan said politely as we filed in. He was known as much for his courtesy as his shrewd intelligence. Cassidy sat ramrod straight, eyes fixed on the floor. Nolan drummed his fingers anxiously on the armrest beside her. Harlan neatly arranged papers on his desk before folding his hands. It seems we have some personnel issues that require immediate attention. He turned to Cassidy first. You are aware that intimate relationships between employees are against company policy? Yes, sir, she answered tersely. And yet clear evidence shows you had an ongoing affair with a married executive, a man whose wife, I might add, you worked closely with during her difficult pregnancy. Cassidy flushed but said nothing. Harlan continued in measured tones. Your actions show a disturbing lack of integrity and professionalism. Effective today, your employment is terminated. Cassidy shot to her feet. You can't do this. My family donated half the artwork in this building. Harlan didn't blink. Your aunt may be a noted philanthropist, but neither she nor your family name will excuse misconduct here. Defeated, Cassidy grabbed her purse and fled the office. Nolan reached out as if to stop her, then seemed to think better of it. Harlan turned his attention next to Nolan. Not only did you violate company rules, you abandoned your family duties. Such poor character does not befit a senior executive. Nolan's face twisted. I've given 15 years to this firm. You can't throw me out over one mistake. It was no mere mistake. You systematically deceived your wife and jeopardized an important project, distracting your team for months. Your presence here is now untenable. Harlan slid an envelope across the desk. Here is the terms of your severance package. I suggest you accept and make a quiet departure. With shaking hands, Nolan took the papers and left. I watched him go with a sense of dark satisfaction. Harlan gave me a kind look. My dear, you were clearly the injured party here. Consider this matter closed on the company's end. I hope you recover fully, both physically and personally. Outside the office, Juliana hugged me tight. I let out a sob I didn't know I'd been holding in, the overwhelming emotions of the past weeks finally crashing over me. It was over. Justice had been swift and sure. Now I could focus on rebuilding a new life with my daughter, a peaceful life, far from the backstabbing duplicity of people like Nolan. When karma came for him, the knife in his back was one he richly deserved. In the weeks following Nolan's termination, I focused on regaining my strength and finding a new normal with my daughter. I took extended medical leave from work, relying on my savings while I figured out next steps. Juliana was a constant support, helping around the house and encouraging me to take it one day at a time. "Forget about Nolan. Everything will work out, you'll see," she said during one late-night chat session. But I couldn't forget. Or forgive. Quiet rage still simmered within me over how Nolan deceived me. I replayed every memory, analyzing all the times he lied straight to my face. He had hurt me deeper than anyone ever had, and he deserved to fully reap what he sowed. Late one night, an idea began to take form. If Nolan thought he could simply walk away unscathed, he was dead wrong. With Juliana's help, I would make sure his betrayal followed him like a dark cloud over every aspect of his life. I decided to start with his beloved career reputation. Nolan had always taken pride in being a rising star at the company, ruthless and ambitious. It was time to crash his image and turn his coworkers against him. Juliana and I drafted an anonymous email detailing Nolan's affair with a direct report during my vulnerable pregnancy. We included key dates and events, along with Cassidy's name. From an internet cafe, we sent the message to everyone in their business circle. Soon after, the heated office gossip mill went into overdrive. Nolan's peers and colleagues were appalled at the sordid details. The portrait of a lying snake emerged, destroying any respect he once commanded. Meanwhile, I spoke with a take-no-prisoners divorce lawyer about destroying Nolan financially. We drew up divorce papers asserting adultery as grounds and seeking full custody with a generous side of child support. Serving Nolan the papers at his new apartment was profoundly satisfying. The look of defeat on his face was priceless. "You'll regret this," he snarled, but we both knew all the power rested firmly in my hands now. Getting my revenge on the home-wrecking Cassidy required a subtler approach. I unearthed her active social media accounts and anonymously sent screenshots to her college friends of her boasting about seducing a married man. The backlash was swift and severe. Calls for her to be fired from her new waitressing job flooded her online profiles. Old friends and roommates publicly denounced her character. She disappeared from social media entirely less than 24 hours later. While Cassidy retreated into obscurity, Nolan would soon endure the full public humiliation of a court battle dragging his name through the mud. I hoped the legal fees and child support bled him dry. As I rocked my baby to sleep each night, the dark thoughts receded and calm took its place. The storm Nolan brought into our lives had cleared. Soon we would be free of him for good. The memories of the loving man I once knew replaced by the far more accurate image of a spineless, cruel traitor. He was finally getting exactly what he deserved. The day of my first divorce hearing arrived gray and bleak, fittingly mirroring my mood. I dressed in sober black and steeled myself for the confrontation ahead. I strode into the courtroom with my head held high, refusing to show an ounce of weakness. Nolan sat at the defendant's table, looking pale and twitchy. His usual well-groomed appearance was notably absent. As we went through initial motions, Nolan tried repeatedly to catch my eye. I kept my gaze fixed straight ahead, acting as if he weren't even in the room. When the judge questioned Nolan about the affair accusations, he sputtered unconvincingly. It meant nothing, just a stupid mistake. My lawyer presented ironclad evidence of the timeline of his betrayal coinciding with my vulnerable pregnancy. Nolan had no counter-argument. On the custody issues, Nolan became agitated and confrontational. "You can't prove I wouldn't be a fit parent," he burst out. The judge's tone grew stern. "You have not participated in caring for your newborn child. These allegations against your character are troubling." In the end, the judge approved our proposed arrangements for full custody and a substantial monthly child support payment. Nolan had lost completely on all fronts. The burning fury in his eyes spoke volumes. As we left court, Nolan grabbed my arm and forced me to face him. "I won't let you take my daughter away from me," he hissed. I yanked my arm back. "Touch me again and I'll have my lawyer file for a restraining order." Leaving him fuming, I walked away feeling victorious. The law was firmly on my side. Over the next few weeks, Nolan maintained a campaign to salvage his reputation without success. He tried shifting blame, claiming I pushed him away during pregnancy and refused marital affection. But the facts of his prolonged deceit were indisputable. Former colleagues and business contacts continued to ice him out, disgusted by the very public details of his affairs and misconduct. Doors closed swiftly when he came calling for job prospects. Nolan grew increasingly unhinged, ranting on social media about injustice and karma coming for those who wronged him. But his credibility was shot. Few paid him any mind. Meanwhile, I embraced single motherhood with a new optimism. The final divorce decree arrived right before my daughter's first birthday, with all terms in my favor. The new year felt full of promise and possibility. On a whim, I reached out to my former workplace and discovered they had an opening, eager to have me return. The chance to fully rebuild my career after years on the mommy track felt like a hard-won victory. As I regained my financial independence and stability, I marveled at how far I'd come. Just a year ago, my world had come crashing down. Now the future looked bright through eyes unclouded by lies and betrayal. Nolan had gotten the bitter revenge he deserved, and I had reclaimed my life. Over the next year, I fell into a rhythm of balancing work and motherhood. My new role involved less travel, allowing me to better care for my daughter's needs. Having the flexibility to leave early for school pickups and doctor visits made all the difference. Settling into my own place also brought immense relief. The wounds of Nolan's betrayal no longer haunted every corner. This was a home filled with new memories and possibilities. My social life also revived as I reconnected with old friends. Juliana remained a stalwart support, helping wrangle my rambunctious toddler during girls' nights out. Her companionship brought much-needed fun and laughter into my days. Meanwhile, Nolan's circumstances continued to crumble. With his reputation in tatters, he could only find spotty contract work. He burned through his remaining savings trying to keep up appearances and pay owed debts. I heard through the grapevine that he was hitting the bottle pretty hard too, often drunk and belligerent in public. It seemed anyone still willing to associate with him was another cheating lowlife or enabler. On the rare occasions our paths crossed, Nolan's bloodshot eyes and disheveled appearance only emphasized how far he'd fallen. He was a shell of the polished, ruthless corporate climber I'd once known. "We could have had it all," he slurred to me on one awkward chance encounter outside my office building. "It wasn't meant to turn out like this." I sidestepped him with a shrug. Should have thought of that sooner. I had long since stopped caring about anything he had to say. After 2 years of sporadic calls and texts full of bitter recriminations, Nolan's contact gradually faded to nothing. The biggest surprise was realizing I didn't miss him in the slightest. I was finally free, fully healed from wounds that had once cut so deep. My daughter remained oblivious to her father's dysfunctional spiral into obscurity. To her, family meant me, Grandma, and Aunt Juliana. She was thriving in preschool and had playdates most weekends with classmates. I made sure her life was filled with love and joy. As for Cassidy, the homewrecker who helped implode my marriage, karma had left its mark on her too. Crippled by the scandal and social media backlash, she had changed her name and left the state. Wherever she ended up, I hope guilt haunts her over what she helped destroy. Maybe Nolan can give her late-night calls instead. On the eve of my daughter's 4th birthday, I hosted a princess tea party with 10 giggling little girls crowding my living room. As I snapped photos and filled teacups, my heart swelled with love and pride. The painful past felt like a distant lifetime ago. Now my days were rich with playfulness and possibility, chasing around a bright-eyed daughter who was the center of my world. I had traveled through the darkness and come out wiser, stronger, renewed in body and spirit. The future awaited, more radiant than ever. Time marched steadily onward, each new day further distance between my present happiness and the pain of the past. My daughter thrived in elementary school, smart and social. She excelled in reading and loved showing off new dance moves she learned in hip-hop class. Her eyes, so like her father's, now sparkled with joy he had long forfeited the right to witness. At my company, years of consistently superb work paid off with a promotion to a director-level position. I now led a team of bright up-and-comers helping set strategy for our division. It felt surreal to be so highly valued when just a few years prior I'd wondered if my career would fully recover post-divorce. On evenings when my schedule allowed, Juliana and I would meet up for dinner and dissect dating app horror stories. We made an unlikely pair, her flashy and fiery, me understated and dry-humored. But our sisterly bond ran deep. "You really showed that cheating scumbag Nolan what's what," Juliana remarked one night as we lingered over tiramisu. "Not every woman could turn heartbreak into such epic revenge." I smiled wryly. "Don't think I didn't imagine slipping arsenic in his wine a few times. But in the end, living well turned out to be the best revenge." One spring morning I spotted a familiar name in the newspaper and my heartbeat quickened reflexively before I could stop it. There was Nolan, looking worn and shabby as he exited a courthouse trying unsuccessfully to dodge photographers. The accompanying article chronicled his guilty plea to drunk driving charges after ramming his car into a tree. His license suspended, career in tatters. The shell of the man I once loved now seemed utterly broken. For the first time in ages, an unexpected pang of sympathy pierced my heart. Whatever latent feelings stirred were quickly extinguished when Nolan's name surfaced again the following week. Arrested on assault charges after a bar fight, his spiral into reckless self-destruction seemed complete. I shook my head, sadly but resolutely. Some people could not be saved from themselves. I had to remain focused on protecting the family we had built, me and our daughter. She was the only part of him worth cherishing. As I helped my little girl practice newly learned multiplication tables that evening, I marveled at how innocence persists even when surrounded by the fallen world. Her childhood was so different from my own, devoid of yelling, mind games, and violence. By some miracle I had overcome my beginnings and broken the cycle. My daughter would grow up trusting in steadfast love, not tiptoeing around landmines. I realized then that I bore no lingering resentments over the pain and deception in my past. Survival and renewal had given me the courage to fully embrace life's complexities. On the other side awaited joy and light, if you just kept moving forward. Nolan's wasted potential was not my concern. His choices led him down a destructive road long before our paths fatefully intertwined. I saw that now with clarity. My task was to raise my daughter with wisdom and compassion, equipping her for whatever lay ahead. As for me, the possibilities of the future beckoned brightly once more. Scars healed and lessons learned, I stepped forward to greet them.